everybody. We are live inside of Cafe Kubal. We are on the upper deck, so we get to relax and have some time. We get to look down and see everybody ordering their coffees and their teas and whatnot. Rob Drummond here with myself, Dan Tortora. Rob and I see each other and usually talk all the time. It's been a few weeks. Christmas happened, New Year's happened. I feel like I haven't seen my brother in like a year. I gave you two hugs this morning.
You did.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. What's up, kid? What's going on?
I'm doing good, man.
Good.
I was gonna take this off and rock what was under it, but I was like, we both like Venom and Marvel, so I feel like I got to keep it on. You know what I mean?
It's always an interesting show. Always an interesting character.
So, I want to start there. I know we're here at Cafe Kubal on 343 Fayette Street, Manlius, New York, and you know the Cafe Kubal is the proud studio partner of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora exclusively. So we're talking about Cafe Kubal all the time. There's locations on 3501 James Street, 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, inside of Galisanos Children's Hospital, out here on 343 Fayette Street where we are in Manlius, and their drive-through on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, and they're now available inside of PB&J's Lunchbox, where you and I did a show with Dan Conley. So Rob and I are here this morning. We're going to be talking about the local community, local student athletes, supporting local business. It's all local when it comes from Rob and I. And before we go there, because I'm wearing this, it has nothing to do with local, but we're big Marvel fans.
Oh yeah.
So did you see Spider-Man No Way Home?
I did not No Way Home.
Okay.
I haven't seen that one.
I've seen it 4 times.
Why am I not shocked? Definitely not shocked about that.
Yeah, my favorite character growing up. So Spider-Man, my favorite hero. Venom, my favorite hero / anti-hero. I don't consider him a villain. So you saw Let There Be Carnage.
Yes.
Which came out in October. I'm stunned that my lady actually wanted to. I showed her. She had never seen a Marvel movie before. So I was like, okay, do you want to watch Venom? So we watched the first one at home. And no, she genuinely, she's into it. She's asking me questions during the movie. And she's like, is this going to happen? Like, what's going to happen here? She's curled up. She's watching. At the end of it, she goes, can we go see the second one? And I went, who are you? And I was like, are you serious? She goes, yeah, I want to see what happens. Like, I really like this more than I thought I would. So we went to go see the second one. And it was good.
Yes.
Woody Harrelson, they got rid of that weird wig that they had at the end of the first movie. So I got to ask you, because I love Venom. And I know that you and I have some of the Venom mentality, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
So
100%.
What did you think of the movie?
It was a very, very, very interesting movie. You know, it's just I like movies that have suspense. You know, that have drama. Kind of whodunit movies. You know, and just trying to figure out, you know, Woody Harrelson's role. You know, just because he's a very good actor, and I've always liked Woody Harrelson from his days of Cheers, you know.
Yeah.
That's probably a little bit before your time, you know. Letting my age out a little bit here.
It's funny that you say that. Not to interrupt. I want to make note of this. So my aunt asked me when I was down in Florida. She's like another mom to me, Mary, and she said she was talking about Cheers, and she's like, "Did you watch it?" And it reminded me of Shaquille. Do you remember what Shaquille O'Neal did to George Marisan?
Yes.
That so he's in the back of the bus and he did a video and he said, George, why don't you go back to where everybody knows your name? So it's funny you mentioned Cheers, because for whatever reason, when I think of Cheers, I think of Shaq making fun of George Marisan.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, but it's just to talk about the movie. You know, it's just, I like plot lines. You know, and Harrelson as an actor is just an awesome actor. He plays those villain roles pretty good. You know, but as I said before, you know, it was a very, very interesting movie. It's a good movie. You can tell it leads to something else, because they always do. I mean, I'm not sure of that yet. You know, but I think you know more about that than I do. But it definitely leads to something else, and I'll look forward to the next movie coming out after that.
Yeah, Toxin's on his way. There could be a little Spider-Man crossover now. So I'm not going to tell you what happens in No Way Home, but it's, I don't know, it's so good. And you and I, as much as, you know, we talk about everything else, we're very simple people.
Yes.
We enjoy conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we talk for like an hour at least. Mm-hmm. We have, you know, good food, simple stuff. We support the local community. And when I think about us, I think we watch movies, we play with our dogs, and we're around people we love.
Yeah.
We're very simple.
That's life.
And we escape to Florida from time to time.
We have to. I mean, the weather out there of the past week is, but it is Syracuse. We're halfway through, really halfway through the winter. We really can't complain. We haven't had it that bad. We're just now starting to get it now, and it's like it's a middle of January, so we should be happy. We should be thankful.
Well, listen, I'm very thankful because this is the reality of it all. And I tell people this all the time. You could be anywhere in the country, right, dealing with an earthquake. Can't play in an earthquake.
No.
Right? Can't play in a tornado.
Nope.
Can't play in a hurricane.
Nope.
Can't play in a tsunami.
Nope.
But after it snows, you can make a snow angel.
I've played in a whole lot of games where it snowed a ton. Snow's not going to kill us. So.
No, it's the only storm you can play in after.
Yeah.
So, I tell people, listen, I lost power over the weekend for a few hours, and it was a little, it was 64 in my house when I woke up, but I had a house to be in. I wasn't dead. I had a bed to sleep in. You know what I mean? So, and the thing is, it's one of the purest things that you will ever see is that when it snows and you get to look outside at it, the purity of the snow, I don't know if there's really anything that looks as beautiful as when the snow first sets.
I mean, it is beautiful to watch, man. And I don't mind the snow. It's the cold that gets to me.
Yeah.
Everyone always asks me, what's the coldest game I ever played in? And I told them I played in a game once at Grey Cup in Edmonton, Alberta, back in 1996. And at kickoff, with the wind chill, it was minus 37. I mean, I love the game of football, but I've never been involved with a game before where I said to myself going out, man, we should just flip a coin to see who wins this game. This is bad. It was that cold, but we ended up having a great game. We ended up winning that championship, but I'll never forget that game, how cold it was.
Well, no, I mean, and the thing is, when you're playing in the Canadian Football League, I mean, you're going to be freezing.
Oh, my gosh. Edmonton, Alberta, Calgary, Alberta, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Regina, Saskatchewan, those places there's no tall buildings, and the wind just blows across the prairies and makes it absolutely freezing.
I remember I went to Toronto in January a few years ago. Horrible idea. And they don't really get snow. They freak out. They get 2 inches of snow. They're going nuts because they just get the cold.
Yes.
They're like, the snow's over. I was like, it's in Buffalo. So they just get the frigid air. The warmest day of the 5 or 6 days I was there was 2.
Oh, I believe it.
The coldest day was negative 12. 0 was a normal thing. I remember one day I walked out, and it's funny because Drake in one of his songs says, I do not stay at the Intercontinental. I own that. Mm-hmm. And that's where I stayed. And so I walk out of the Intercontinental. I come out of the revolving door. I kid you not. The wind hit me. I looked down and I thought I didn't have pants on. I thought I left without pants. It went right through my pants.
That's Canadian air.
So I will tell you that if you ever need a cold breeze, Canada is the place to go.
Canadian air is no joke.
But they don't get the snow thing.
No.
We get the snow.
We get the snow.
Yeah. So we're talking about, being here in Central and Upstate New York. You have made it your mission to not be a Central New York student athlete, but to help out Central New York student athletes, pay it forward. You could have easily said, hey, I'm Rob Drummond. I played at JD. I went on and played at Syracuse. I went to the NFL. I went to the CFL. I'm a champion. I'm undefeated at Syracuse in the last season that happened in '87. You could have hung up your cleats and said, I had a good run. I'm going to go live my life and be about my way. What you have done in your chapter after football is be a trainer, create a program in RAPS, and help out local student athletes in Central and Upstate New York. And all you've done is pay it forward. Why help other people? Why not be like so many who said, hey, I had a great career. Now I'm going to go take my money and go live on an island. Why are you here, and why do you keep helping these kids?
I mean, first of all, I'm here because when I retired from the game of football, I said to myself, I really can go live anywhere, but you know what? Syracuse is really all I had ever known growing up as a kid, and I have my ties here. My family are still here, so of course I want to come back here and be here. So, secondly, I always ask myself, it's like, what? If not me, then who? Yeah. I see a few other people out there, trying to make a difference for the local athletes here, in the CNY, but they're not doing enough. We need to do more, By the grace of God, I was fortunate enough to be, 6'4", 225 pounds, running 4.3, with a 40-inch vertical jump. So I had all the athletic ability and all the skill in the world, But a lot of athletes out there, that aren't blessed and fortunate enough to have that, but they still have the heart, the drive, and the desire to be as successful, if not more successful than me. So if I can sit there and give them an avenue or give them an outline and a path to allow them to be able to be seen by coaches and, just inspire them to go out there and work harder and be better each day, then I'm going to do that until I have no breath in my body, because I would love to have somebody, it was done for me when I was growing up. I had athletes come, I got a chance to meet Joe Morris and Art Monk when I was very, very young, and that inspired me to be able to go out there, possibly not thinking I could play for Syracuse, but, be the best possible athlete, be the best possible person I possibly could be.
Yeah, and for you to have, that support, who would you consider some of your greatest mentors growing up? Who are the people that you feel like really were an integral part of you being successful?
Oh, if I look back at it now, Bruce Quimby, to start off with, my high school football coach, was very instrumental in me signing with Syracuse early. Getting looked at as a Division I high school athlete at the time. I could go on and on. My whole guidance counselor staff up at JD, who really I was one of the first, I won't say first athletes recruited, because Scott Schwades was recruited before me, but I was recruited more higher than Scott for the simple fact that I could play so many more different positions. Scott was just going into college as a wide receiver. They were looking at me as an outside linebacker, or a running back, a wide receiver, or a free safety. So I was basically, they call them athletes now.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So back then they really didn't have a name for them. But it took all four of our guidance counselors, Miss Doty, Mr. McGrath, Mr. Minch, and Mr. Papa, and it's just and I'll never forget them, and I always thank them for just making my process of being recruited, because back then it wasn't as easy as it is now. And now it's just point, paste, clip, paste, and send. There was no email back then when I was in high school. There was no computers really back then when I was in high school. Again, I'm letting you know my age. So. But it's just you look back on. I look back on things like that, and in my process of being able to accomplish the things I accomplished, I had so many people along the way that that just gave me an outline and gave me so much help. And I for one am going to turn around and do the exact same thing that was done to me. Go out there and do the best job I can, and giving these kids an outline to success.
Yeah, and I think for you to do what you've done and to care as much as you have, it goes such a long way that, I think people don't understand, these kids are better off because of people like you.
Yes.
They have a voice, they have an opportunity now, they have a bridge, they have a road, and, they don't always feel that way. I talked to Max White a couple days ago. He's at SUNY Cortland, the Brady McNeil at St. John Fisher. You talk to Mike Washington at CNS, you talk to really any of these guys, and they'll tell you, John Phillips at CBA, Aaron Donaldson, who came through here. We look at Derek Gore, who's playing for the Chiefs right now from Nottingham. There's not really a lot of love for the New York State football player, and you've tried to dispel that. I've tried to dispel that, to take away that negative moniker, this belief that, and I tell people this all the time, you can be a shepherd or you can be a sheep. And when you're sheep, the shepherd tells you where to go, and sometimes you're not led by a good shepherd, and you go right off the cliff. Well, there's shepherds out there that are saying, hey, sheep, there's nothing here in New York, and people are just buying it and falling off the cliff. And then there's people like you and I going, Dorsey Levens, Latavius Murray, Mike Washington, John Phillips, Noah Jordan Williams, Greg Paulus, Sire Torrance, Stevie Scott, Servassier Dennis, Scott Schwades, and on and on. And then there's guys just from New York State itself, maybe from Long Island, maybe from Albany, maybe from, Waterloo and whatnot area.
Moose Johnson's from the Buffalo area.
Yeah, Buffalo, Rochester, Aquinas Institute. So it's clear that saying there's no talent here is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, what do you think when you wake up today in 2022 and you still hear people going, oh, well, Dino doesn't recruit New York because there's nobody here?
Dino doesn't recruit New York, but it goes without saying. You're not going to find anything if you're not looking for it.
Yeah.
And if they're not looking in your own backyard, why would they bring something like a talent like myself? I look at the Syracuse University current situation up on the university, and I sit here and say to myself often, oh my God, I think I wouldn't have went to Syracuse if Dino Babers was the coach at the head time there. I would have probably ended up at Penn State. And for me, it's like tragic to say that, because how how much history, how different history would have been if I ended up at Penn State instead of Syracuse. But then you look at athletes, like you just said, Scott Schwade's, Tim Green. I can go on and on and on about the athletes from Syracuse, for the city of Syracuse that played at the university. Anthony Huddleston, Jerome Hall. I mean, go on and on and on. Guys I played with Syracuse, from Henniger, from Liverpool, from Baldwinsville, from CNS, from JD, from Corcoran. And not only did we play at Syracuse and play at a high level and play on teams that were nationally ranked, we also got drafted pretty high into the NFL. So there is talent here in the city of Syracuse, and we just have to get these kids not only the confidence to be able to believe in themselves and understand that they're that good, but just get them in front of these coaches. And that's my mission actually this year, doing that, to bring the city of Syracuse and the University of Syracuse together, because there's no togetherness with us right now, none at all.
No, in this state of New York in and of itself too, when I sit here and I look at Union Endicott, it's like there was Chandler Jones, there was Arthur Jones, 2 Super Bowl champions. Chandler's still playing. He started off the year with 5 sacks in the first game, something ridiculous. So, and they went to the playoffs. And you see what Arthur has done. These guys from Union Endicott, we look at what Maine Endwell does, what Shenango Forks does, what CBA has. I mean, CBA itself, I'm like, okay, Greg Paulus, Sire Torrance, Stevie Scott, John Phillips, Servassier Dennis, just in recent history, LeVar Lobdell, Bruce Williams. It's like, and LeVar and Bruce were right behind me in school. So to see what CBA has done, I always say it would take Dino about a 10-minute tricycle ride to get to CBA.
Not even 10 minutes.
And I'm going to say something, and I know that you and I I shared this, and I know that many of you have commented, and as you should to this, I would imagine, when National Signing Day came through the first time.
Yes.
And December 15th, my grandmother's birthday. My grandmother be rolling in her grave to hear this. When Dino stood at the podium and I was dead center to him, and him and I have a good relationship. I respect him. I want to believe he respects me. He said, when he was asked a question, and I didn't ask him this question. I asked him a bunch of questions, but not this one. He was asked if he had been to a local game. And he stood at the podium and told the world and this entire community, I have not been to a single local game this year. And I sat there and I went, wow. 2 things. 1, how is that possible? 2, why would you tell anybody?
Exactly. That's something you do. And even thinking that, you should have kept it to yourself, because now that's showing a total lack and disrespect for the local athletes and the local people here who spend their money to come watch the games. If you can't even support our local kids, why should we support you at the university level? I mean, and honestly, that's what they're probably thinking.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's like, even myself at one point, I mean, a friend of mine, Ed asked me to drive up to Watertown to watch his grandson play a Watertown football game. I think Watertown was playing Potsdam, and I was like, sure. And he was like, I can come and pick you up. I was like, no problem at all. I always support local athletes. So on my own dime, I just got up one morning, went up and watched the entire Watertown game. Had a great time watching the game. Came back later that night. They ended up having to go the next day, going out to watch Nick Patterson, Nick Patterson and Stephen Valerie. Stephen Valerie is the coach at West Hill, and Nick Patterson's the coach at Marcellus. Yeah. I went out and watched the first half of their game, and then driving back from that game, I went over to watch my younger cousin's game, where it was Bishop Ludden playing. I forget who they played. They ended up blowing him out, but so I ended up watching in that weekend probably like 4 or 5 games. Yeah. It doesn't take much to be able to go, even if you stay for a quarter or 2. Just show the fans in the local community that you support them, and they'll easily have a great time supporting you and think the world of you. Coach Mack was a master at that. He did it all the time. I mean, even as a player when I was at Syracuse, Coach Mack would be like, Robert, you want to go to one of the high school games and that? I was like, sure, Coach, which one? Yeah. And we would show up for the game, and people would see Coach Mack, and granted, I was a local star, but they would see me also. But we got so much more respect from the community because we took time out to show them that we cared also, which of course is my hometown. I'm going to care, but you have a head coach now putting himself in a position to be, to put himself out there to show the community, hey, I'll support you as long as you support me. I respect that. Yeah, and the reality for me, I mean, I look at when he made that statement, I haven't been to a local game all year. Yeah. All I was thinking in my head was the sectional championships were in the Dome. Yeah. The New York State championships were in the Dome. Yeah.
So riddle me this: how do you not go to a game that came to you? You didn't even have to drive to West Hill. You didn't have to drive to Waterloo. You didn't have to drive to Rochester. You didn't have to drive to Camillus. You didn't have to drive to Manlius. All you had to do was go to your place of business with a cup of coffee and stand in the dome that you coach and play in for about half an hour.
I mean, I look at it like this, and it's one thing I teach kids. I mean, teach my own children. I teach myself. It's like, if it's important to you, you make the time.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
If it's not important to you, you'll find excuses. If it's important to you, you'll always find the time, and you'll find a way to get it done. Even if it's for 5, 10, 15 minutes. As I said before, stay for a quarter. No one's asking you to stay the whole game. We understand you're busy. I mean, you're not the only person with a huge busy schedule.
Yeah.
The world has busy schedule, but still, if it's important to you, you got to find a way to make time. Apparently, Syracuse, youth sports here is not important. But hey, I mean, I can't. Like I said, as far as I know, I have a good relationship with Dino Babers. I met him one time. He's a great guy. I mean, me personally, do I think he's the coach for the job at Syracuse? I don't, but that's just my opinion. And that's just one man. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. Maybe he can go out there and have a great winning season and get the national championship next year. I wish him the best. I hope so. But my gut instinct in my years of football saying it's not going to be that way. It's like we're just not built for, we're not the team that's built for that right now, and I can't put my finger on it because as I said before, I'm on the outside looking in, but I do know football, and I played professionally 15 years, and I learned a lot about this game, and it's just interesting to watch the dynamics and how a city and a university are so far apart.
Yeah, and that's the thing. These kids tell me now. They said, listen, we grow up with the expectation that Syracuse is not an option.
Yeah.
They said, we literally grow up thinking, okay, we got to find another avenue to play the game. What breaks my heart, and you and I have talked about this before, is one of the players within the last 10 years, leave him unnamed, I was talking to a coach, building a relationship with a coach. The coach had offered this kid. This kid had a ton of offers, and from Central New York. And I'm talking to the coach, and the coach said to me, let me ask you a question. I said, what? He said, what's wrong with him? And I said, nothing. Why? He's like, well, Syracuse isn't recruiting him. He's like, did they offer him? I said, no. He's like, are they talking to him? I said, maybe a little bit. And he said, oh, well, does he have bad character? Am I missing something on film? What's he doing in school?
Yeah.
Is he hanging around the wrong kids? What am I missing?
Yeah.
I said, nothing. He's like, well, the school down the street isn't offering him, so there's got to be something wrong with the kid. I go, no, there's something wrong with that.
Exactly. What do you want me to say? It's not like it's some magic smoking bullet. The writing's on the wall. It is what it is. If your local university doesn't recruit you, as you said before, it's a stone throws away. From the high school. Then of course other recruiters from other schools are gonna be like, is this kid damaged goods? Because they would know more about him, than say a school like Pittsburgh would. But the sad thing is though, Syracuse doesn't know about our local kids because they don't try and find out.
No, and that's the thing, as I say, you hit the kids twice. Because if you don't recruit them, you break their heart once. And by not recruiting them, if other coaches think, okay, well, this kid's damaged goods, there's something wrong with them, now you hit the kid twice. If they think that if they don't at least ask the question.
And I'm more optimistic now that Deion Maddox is taking a hold of the local recruiter really for the CNY area. And Deion's a former player, and Deion gets it. So Deion's out there a lot more aware as former players also. We can help him as much as as much as we like, or as much as we want to also, because Deion always called me and asked me about the local athletes, and I'm always on top of explaining to him, this athlete's pretty good, here's film on this one, here's film on this one. They may not know it as a kids, but I'm always sitting in there. I mean, I'm one of their biggest biggest promoters out there of our local talent. Even some of the younger kids who are like 10, 11, 12, 13, who I think are very, very talented. I'm always in their ear about being a good student, having good character, not going on TikTok and all this other crazy stuff they do, because recruiters look at that, and that can really ruin your chances for getting into a good university. If you got something out there you did, as a 13, 14, 15-year-old, that may come back to haunt you when you're trying to get into college or university. So I try and be a good role model and give them an outline and try and smooth out the road and try and smooth down some of the speed bumps that they'll run into. Try and make the process for these young, not just men but women also. Try and make the process for them a little bit smoother.
Yeah, and Coach Hicks, he cares. I mean,
Great guy.
Coach is awesome and
Yeah.
such an incredible human being. And
Great
he's
guy.
not from here; he's from the Carolinas, and yet he has treated this
loves
his
that
home.
Loves SU sports and loves the community. He's a well-respected man in the community.
And I feel like, you take him out of his role where he was with strength and conditioning and whatnot, and look at how the NFL doesn't look at you anymore.
Yeah.
Like where and I don't want to, and again, if you come in and you want to jockey and say, well, I got to put my guys in, whatever, okay, that's all well and good, but Coach Hicks has a relationship with 32 NFL teams.
Yeah.
And he was so good, even when the team was horrible, he could get a guy on a team.
Yeah.
And you've seen in the Dino era that Zaire Franklin, a third-round pick, goes seventh round. You see a guy like Andre Cisco dip. You see these guys fall that shouldn't be falling, and some of the guys going undrafted, like Irv Phillips, and you see like Steve Ishmael and whatnot. And it concerns me because Hicks was the bridge, and he's still at the university, but now you put him in a different place, and he's not allowed to do this, that, and whatever. And look at what it's done to you. Like, because you needed to put your guy in and maybe your ego got involved, now all the kids that come to play for you have a harder chance to get into the NFL.
In such plain sight, they can't even see it. Or they don't want to see it.
Yeah. Like Coach Hicks is in your building. And like he could make a phone call at any given time, Jacksonville, Dallas, Kansas City. They would have a mediocre year, and how many coaches are here? And he would, or like scouts or whatever, he would say, oh, there's 28 out of 32 teams. Some teams would send 2. There was years where they had all 32 teams, where they had 29, 30. Like, I mean, there were times during Doug Marrone and Schaefer time, there was times before Dino where at Syracuse's pro day, they were there to see them.
Mm-hmm.
The last time Syracuse had the majority of the NFL coming to see them was when they didn't come to see them. They came to see Malik Willis of Liberty and accidentally saw Sean Tucker and everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, it's to the point where, I mean, and I always say it's like, I cheer for Syracuse because it's my alma mater, of course. I bleed orange. But in the same respect, it's like I go to a game and it's as a fan and a local kid, who do we cheer for? There's no other local kids on the team. Yeah, Sean Tucker's from Maryland. Garrett Schrader, I know he transferred in from Mississippi. Not sure where the young man's from. It's like you look up and down their roster, and it's just it's a lot of guys, but no local talent. And it's like I'm from the old school where I look at the talent from Syracuse, where we had myself, we had Scott Swades, we had Tim Green, we had Chris Gedney, Chris Ingram, I can go on and on and on. Will Allen, I mean, it's just the names of guys that played at Syracuse and the local kids who also all went on to play pro football and become very successful. Yeah. So to sit here and say that Syracuse doesn't have the local talent is a cop out, because the talent's there. It's just sometimes it's like gambling. Syracuse took a chance on me, and wow, did that pay off? Syracuse took a chance on Scott Swades, and wow, did that pay off? Syracuse took a chance on Tim Green and Will Allen, Chris Gedney. I can go on and on and on with the names.
And
Syracuse took a chance, and they paid off. Take a chance on the local kids and recruit them early and give them the chance to be able to not just go out there and be a star for you, but to put fans in the stands that can relate to them.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that connection that you have when your team is 1-10. And listen, when the team is 6-6, the fans leave in the third quarter.
Yes.
When the team is 7 and whatever, they leave in the third quarter. When the team is 8 and whatever, they leave in the third quarter. When they're 1-10, they leave in the third quarter. When they're 5 and whatever, they leave in the third quarter. The only way to keep fans there in the second half, and I never know where they're going. When there's 10 minutes left in the third quarter, I'm sitting here going, this isn't Atlanta, this isn't New Orleans, this is not Orlando. Are you on I-4 right now? Like, it takes you 7 minutes to get home, and if you leave at the end of the game, it might take you 20.
Yeah.
Oh, no. What you going to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and I sit here and I ask myself, why do you leave? But guess what? If there was a kid on there from West Jenny, CNS, Beeville, CBA, if Sire Torrance came here, there would be an entire section that would be there 2 hours early and an hour and a half after.
Oh, 100%.
And nobody's leaving. And guess who else would be there? Casey Brown from CBA. And guess who else would be there? Everybody else from CBA. And guess who would be there? Samir Torrance.
You have the support of the city. We're completely behind them.
Yeah. You would have all the alumni from CBA, and you would have the boosters there, and you would have, you
one
would
of
have
our own.
What?
One of our own.
Yeah, because that's the thing. And all it takes is one.
All it takes is one.
All it takes is one kid that you do right by who's going to be here. I mean, think about it. Mackey was told he's undersized, he's not good enough. 3 out of 4 years, there was a 1,000-yard back when he was here. And Seamus Shanley was talking to me about it, and he said, when I played at Syracuse and I was on the offensive line, 4 out of 5 offensive linemen were from the state of New York under Doug Marrone.
Yeah.
He said, some of us were from here, and then there was guys that, this guy's from like Long Island, this guy's from this, whatever, but they were all from the state of New York. And that 4 out of 5 of them were from the state of New York. And look at what Doug Marrone did.
Yeah.
He won more games, he was more consistent, he went to bowls, and he was better, and he was more gritty, and they ran the ball well. Like, it wasn't a fluke. And to me, it's when you come from the Northeast, you got a chip on your shoulder, you're already pissed off because you're not getting recruited, it's cold as hell. If you're going to find somebody who loves the game, truly loves the game, why wouldn't you find that in the state of New York when they have to practice in the snow, they have to literally train themselves in it, and if they really care about football like you do, they would have to go out on a day like today in the snow and the sleet and the ice and just work and work and work. And Syracuse would train for a Florida State game in the season in November in a foot of snow. Schaefer had them outside. Like, you want a gritty football player, especially a lineman? I mean, the Northeast, this is where, and even Pennsylvania that's right here. It's right there under your nose.
As someone who's lived it, I tell you, playing in front of your home crowd, playing in front of your hometown as a local player gives you an energy that I can't explain, or I can't somehow try to let you grasp around it, because I went out every single game I played at the Carrier Dome as a local kid, and gave you 110%, 150%. I gave everything, because I would always, no matter what I did, good or bad, I would still have the fans behind me supporting me and knew they were there for me. So they had my back and I had their back, and that's what the local kids get. They get the support of fans here.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. And I see these kids that have played, and to hear, like, again, the belief that there's no talent here, like, where, and to hear somebody say, well, in the last 5 years, I was like, Servassier, Stevie.
Yeah.
I was like, Mike Washington Jr. I mean, are you not paying attention? And right now, my guy Daniel Booby Santiago first offer was from Arizona. Mm-hmm. Then he got offers from Army, Navy, Air Force, San Diego State, Yale, Holy Cross. He had Colgate, bunch of places, Colorado State, bunch of places offered him and gave him an opportunity. He's got Ivy League, he's got independence, the military schools, he has the AAC, he has the Mountain West, he has the Pac-12, and ultimately he just made his decision, came on my show to talk about it. He chose to go to Holy Cross, the Crusaders, in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Gordy Lockbaum.
You what?
Gordy Lockbaum.
Yeah, and I was like,
do you know who that is?
I know the last name.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture the face right now, and I can't.
He was a Heisman Trophy candidate in 1987. Donnie McPherson's year for winning
from Holy Cross.
Holy Cross.
So the Crusaders. So he decides to go to Holy Cross, and I said, why? He said, because, and you can appreciate this. He said, in this recruiting process, people are not always honest with you.
No, they're not.
And he said, I wanted to go where I had an opportunity to play right away, immediately be effective, get on the fields. Because I said to him, you got these FBS offers, you have Power 5 offers, Power 6 arguably. Why would you go to the FCS if you could go to the FBS? Normally, someone gets an FCS offer and they get an FBS one, they go wherever the FBS is. So why would you even, consider the FCS? He said they got in touch with him, they talked to him, they told him the truth, and he felt like in the recruiting process, he was lied to, he was sold something that wasn't real, and Holy Cross did right by him, so he wanted to do right by Holy Cross. And I know that some people that are looking for the negative mindset of New York is going to go, oh, look, well, yeah, okay, the best talent goes to the FCS. No, the best talent chose to go to the FCS instead of Arizona.
Yeah, I mean,
he chose to go there.
I mean, the kids got to go where they feel comfortable. So, I mean, any kid, even trying to come to Syracuse, I'd give them pros and cons about coming to Syracuse, and if I think it's a good fit. But again, that's just an opinion. But I'm going to always give these kids the best opinion I can from my experience, so they can be successful. I'm not going to just sit here and tell a kid, that I don't think it's a good fit for Syracuse to come to Syracuse, just for my self-gratification. I wouldn't do that, because that's a life that that's going to probably looking up to me and looking for guidance. And then I steered steer them down the wrong path, and I just can't live with myself for doing something like that. I would love them to come to Syracuse, and make the best of it, but if they should choose to go someplace else, I'm still going to love them just as much. I'm not going to cheer for you, any less louder because you go to a school, like Villanova or Boston College or Penn State, rather than Syracuse. I'm always still going to support you as a Syracuse University, as a Syracuse alumni, or city folk, and just not applaud you because you didn't choose Syracuse. That's just not the type of person I am. I want to see all the people. I want to see everybody successful, but definitely kids that come out of the CNY area who are definitely trying to go out there and do what they love to do.
And that's another thing, Daniel Booby Santiago, nothing from Syracuse.
Yeah,
and the first offer was from Arizona, and he just won a state championship in Arizona because during COVID, Utica Proctor, the last couple of years, he decided it was better for him to leave state and play because Utica didn't play the first year, and then I think this year had some issues. So, seeing what you just said before we take a fast break, I'll leave you with this. In order for a kid to choose Syracuse, Syracuse has to choose them.
That is true.
We'll take a step aside for a fast break. We'll be back right after this from Cafe Kubal on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York with Rob Drummond. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. And welcome back here inside of the Cafe Kubal on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. We are in the upper deck here. I remember the last time we were in the upper deck, the bird flew into the window.
Yeah, I
remember that?
Also. Yes, I remember that.
It was awful. I've never experienced that in my life, but it just shows you how clean and beautiful and pristine this building and the windows are at Cafe Kubal. 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. Make sure you make your way out here and support local. I got my chai this morning, and I put mint in it. I put a bunch of different stuff. They still have pumpkin spice, but I put mint in my chai, and we also got some waters here. Go ahead.
I wasn't going to say anything. I'm just looking at you. I got a guilty conscience.
Oh, waiting for a comment. So we're here at Cafe Kubal. Obviously, you know that Wake Up Call is proudly brought to you inside of the Cafe Kubal studios every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube, Facebook, and mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Of course, on facebook.com/livenowdt and on wakeupcalldt.com. Hanging out here with Rob Drummond, CNY Native, as well as JD alum, Syracuse alum, NFL, CFL alum, here with us inside of Cafe Kubal and having some fun with our conversation here this morning. Rob, there's so many different things that we've talked about over the years, and it's been pretty much, I think it has it been 10 years that we've known each other? 2012?
Yeah. Wow, that went fast.
Yeah, I know. So 10 years, and you look the same.
I don't feel the same.
Yeah, you look the same though. You're very youthful.
Don't.
I love
feel
how
it.
you're always like, man, I couldn't play football right now. I'm like,
Ooh.
dude, I told you, I said, when you retire from what you're doing right now, let me put it to you like this. When I start doing my stand-up, you're going to be my bodyguard.
That's one poor bodyguard you're gonna have.
Why is that a poor bodyguard? I would not want anybody to have to deal with you.
Looks can be deceiving.
No, listen, the way that you are as a human being, the way that you treat people,
Oh yeah.
I'm a firm believer that if I'm going to have a bodyguard, it would be you, because you would protect my life.
I can de-escalate anything because I'm very good at that because I have to be now. I'm not tough anymore.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like, and Rob, you're what, 6 what?
6'4".
Okay, so Rob's 6'4", I'm 5'8". So I'll use a line from Robin Williams in the movie RV when he said, he's like, we'll fight together. You get him high, I'll get him low.
that sounds about right.
So Rob and I are here talking about everything in the local community, local business, local student athletes, and just supporting the community itself. What has Syracuse in Central and Upstate New York, what has it meant to you? Like, to someone who's never been here, how would you describe it?
Blue collar, hard workers. It's just we don't have much here, as as in terms of if you look at other places, across the country, as far as big cities like a Boston or Buffalo, or Philadelphia, But what we do have, we're very prideful of, and we love it with a passion, Hence, our sports teams, it gives us something take a look outside during days like these, teams to cheer for them, and just being a part of something, especially when it's special. In 1987, when we went undefeated, that had to be a magical year, not just for us, but it was also a magical year for the community, because it gave the community a chance during, cold days like this, to believe in a football team that at the time was actually headed to play the New Year's Day Bowl. Yeah. So having a great year and going out there and giving 110% on a football field translated to us being able to get invited to a national bowl game, in New Orleans, on January 1st. And it was just something for the fans also. When you're going to play a collegiate sport, it's not just about yourself going in there. You're playing for an entire community, an entire set of people who really, really, really love their sports program and really, really love their athletes that come in, and they really, really love to cheer for the team. So that's what what was like for me, especially playing at Syracuse. To be able to play in my own backyard, I grew up 5 minutes, I grew up in Janesville, so I had, for 4 years, I had more people at the game, because I was Robert Drummond, as opposed to Robert Drummond, a football player. They were there because I was a local kid playing on the Syracuse team, and that's very prideful, and it always gave me a sense of just going out there and not just playing for myself, but playing for a community that supported me and believed in me and always stood behind me, through the good and bad times, and I appreciated that, and it came out, and it showed in my work ethic.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and you bring it up, caring about the community and playing in front of this community. When I was growing up as a kid and I played basketball, in my head I was always like, man, I want to play for SU. It was always in my head, and I had that one D3 phone call and from Marywood University, and I appreciate that. And I did get to go on the court one day. It was the day I met Dale Shackelford, another good friend of mine, and I met Dale. The ball went off the court, and I was playing on Jim Boeheim court. It was the actual court, and so we were there for a summer camp in August a few years back, and I'm standing on the court. The ball goes out. Dale picks it up. I look at him, and I went like this, and I had just met him, and he passed me the ball. It bounced once. I was on the right side of the free throw line. I said, Daniel Michael Justin Tortora, you have made shots in your life and you have missed shots in your life. You cannot miss this shot. And I took it and I let go and I kind of faded a little bit. It dropped through and I looked at Dale and I go, they got to add an assist to your stat card there. But to me, it was like, you think about how much we love this community.
Yes.
I never got to put on a Syracuse jersey, but I got to play on that court that day and make that shot from Dale Shackelford, who did play, and get an assist from him. Yeah. And so to me, that was a moment in my life where I said, hey, as a kid, I got to stand on this court as a grown man, and I got to get a pass from Dal Shackelford to make the shot. That's how much it means to me. Mm-hmm. So, to Joe Girard from Glens Falls, to Buddy and Jimmy from in Syracuse and Jamesville DeWitt, to Brandon Trish and Daylon Coleman, there's something to be said about what that means. Mm-hmm. And I think people need to understand, you can be frustrated that Joe Girard misses a shot or two, or that he had more points than anybody on either side against Florida State and then didn't score in the second half. You can be frustrated, but please understand something. You're ripping on this kid, you're yelling at this kid, you're screaming at this kid. This kid has dreamt his whole life of playing basketball at the Division I level. He's from Glens Falls, and he's playing in Syracuse. You have no idea what that means to him. Mm-hmm. So win, lose, or draw, something inside of him loves this so much, and I wish, and I understand, fans are fickle, but this is what really gets at me. Is Joe a true point guard? No. Is Jim arguably hurting him by putting him there and not letting him be a shooting guard and set up a shot?
Yes.
Yes, and we know that. And I think, deep down, Joe, I'm sure, knows that. But no one can take away from him the fact that he's an upstate New York guy playing at Syracuse, and I wish fans would look beyond the missed shots and the made shots and think about the fact that, this has got to mean so much to him and his family.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if you were to ask that young man, he's frustrated, because he's playing out of position. I mean, I'm sure if he played the two guard, he feels within himself he could showcase his skills a whole lot more. And even playing the two guard, that's where, NFL scouts or overseas scouts that want him to go on to that next level are going to look at him as. And Coach Boeheim, I'm not in Coach Boeheim's practices, and I have the utmost respect for Coach B. But I mean, as an athlete myself, I can just look at this young man and be like, I always say to myself, he just looks so uncomfortable at the point guard position, trying to bring the ball up the court and and just trying to. He's not really a creator.
He's a shooter.
He's a grab the ball and shoot it.
Yeah.
So I mean, Boeheim knows what he's doing. He's been there almost 50 years, so. I mean, it's hard to question a man who's been at an organization, for almost 50 years.
It is. We look at it, though, and we look at the reality of it all, and it's the fact that, he should know. Jim should know, and he does. I mean, he knows. He's got two shooting guards. He's got Buddy, and he's got Joe. Well,
yes,
he's not going to take Buddy out.
No.
And he's going to put Joe at the point. And then you got a guy like Symir. You talk about another guy who just loves being here.
It's a pure point guard.
You can tell with Symir that it means the world to him to be on the floor for 2 seconds.
Of course.
The smile on his face and the happiness. I looked at him after the game. I went up and talked to him in Syer and took a picture of him. And it was great because I had my mask. This is what makes you feel good. When someone's happy to see you, it's great. Mm-hmm. Right? But when someone's happy to see you and they notice you with your mask on, that makes you feel really good.
Yeah.
I walked up to Syer, I hit him on the arm, and he turned around and he looked right at me. So my mask is up, and he was like, hey, what's up, man? I said, how you doing? And I said, and went over to Symir, and I said, Sy, I was like, listen, I have been pulling for this moment. You to get out there,
yeah.
I've been pushing and pushing. Because the thing is, I want Joe to be out there,
mm-hmm.
but he's not a point guard.
No.
So, if you're never going to take Buddy out, and I did this lineup thing last night with Pat Orr from PB&J's Lunchbox, so shout out to Pat, where they proudly serve Cafe Kubal at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool. We're talking about the lineup, and I said, this is what Jim's going to do. This is before the season started. I said he's going to do Joe at point, he's going to do Buddy at shooting guard, he's going to do Cole at small forward, and people disagree with me on that. Dan, you're stupid, he didn't do that, Villanova. I said, yeah, okay, well, he's going to play. Played for 3 years at Villanova for Jay Wright. He's going to play. Then they told me Benny's going to play. I said, he doesn't play freshman if he doesn't have to. So I put Jimmy there. And then I put Barama if he was healthy because he played Barama. So Barama comes out, Jesse goes in, right? So that starting lineup is exactly what he's been doing, what I said before the season started. What I argued was Symir at point. You're not going to take Buddy out at shooting guard. Then Cole, then Jimmy, I know he's going to put there. And then Jesse, because Jesse's the best center they've had in a decade. So you have all those guys, so then they say, okay, Dan, well, okay, if you have Symir, Buddy, Cole, Jimmy, Jesse, what are you going to do with Joe? Here's my argument. Symir is a true point guard. I want to see what the team looks like in transition with Symir. I want to see what the team looks like in setting up in half court with Symir. I want to see what the team is like when a true point guard is trying to orchestrate something. So with that being said, what do I do with Joe? Who are the two shooters that have played the most that are hot and cold all the time this year? Cole and Joe.
Yes. Yeah.
So what I would do was I'd start with Symir, have Cole out there. Then I'd spell Cole, have a smaller lineup with Joe out there. Then I would just go back and forth. Whoever's having the hot hand plays. But the way I would deal with it is Cy's my true point guard, Jesse's my true center, Buddy's not coming out, we all know. And then I'd figure out the middle of that, and I'd bring in Joe and Cole interchangeably. That's what I would do.
Buddy's not even getting yelled at. I mean, so of course he's not coming out of the game. But I mean, I think that lineup would just give. They need to change up something to get a spark because they're just standing around, just passing the ball and just waiting to lose games. You can't win like that. You got to be in attack mode. They need a true point guard to be in attack mode. So, as I said, Coach Boeheim's been there almost 50 years. So I'm gonna try and go with his thinking and his mindset of what he's trying to do. If we make the tournament, great. If we don't make the tournament, Coach, it's on you. We didn't make the calls. You put a lineup in there that wasn't working. When the rest of us saw it wasn't working.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, why bring in a true point guard and not have any? But again, what did he do to Kadari?
Yeah.
He ran him out of here.
What's the definition of insanity?
Same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result.
Exactly.
So, if I'm Cy, I came home. I came from Marquette. I was recruited by Syracuse. I went to Marquette, and now I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
If the season goes this way, and I got 1 or 2 games where I got to actually go out there and try to do something on the court, because what is he doing worse than Joe?
Nothing.
So he, let's say, has a year where he plays a couple games. In my opinion, I would be like, okay, I played in front of my hometown crowd, but guess what?
Yeah.
They're not letting me play.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then that's when that's where I say to the transfer portal, it's not always a kid being selfish. Sometimes it's a kid going, hey, listen, I'm a true point guard.
He wants to play.
You don't want me to play.
Yeah.
I'm only going to play college once, so I'm going to go. Like if things continue this way for Cy, I can't argue him to stay.
Oh, I can't either. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell this young man who's not getting playing time here. Again, I don't know what's going on in practice, but I know his talent level, and I know after watching, Joe Girardi. I mean, at the point guard position, I'm a football player, and I can sit here and say he's not a natural point guard. It's just like he's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
At the point guard position. I mean, he gets pressing. I mean, he has a few turnovers during the game that are just because he doesn't have the great ball handling skills that a point guard should have. So, but again, notice I keep saying Coach Boeheim has been there almost 50 years. So, because it doesn't fall on me. Yeah. I mean, I could have my suggestions as an observer, someone who understands athletic and understands movements as a trainer. It's like he's not athletic enough to keep up at the point guard position. But
he's not.
That's just me saying that.
I mean, the reality of it all is, and I played basketball my whole life. I was talking to my buddy James, and we grew up playing together, and we played pickup together, and we played on teams together. And I said to him last year, I said the way that he dribbles this ball and where he has it, I told him, I go, this would be lunch for us. Like, I'm not a D1 player, but the way that he brings that ball up and what he does with the ball, I'd be going after that ball 100 times a game.
All game long.
Like, I'm sitting here going, why doesn't Duke have, 13 turnovers against – there's certain teams that I was like, are they being nice? I like Joe, and I think Joe is talented, but I want Joe to be who he is, and Joe's a shooting guard.
Yeah.
And how is he supposed to set up his own shot when he's the one that's supposed to be orchestrating, and he's not going to orchestrate like Symir. You bring in Symir to be your point guard. You have Joe to be your shooting guard. Buddy's already in there, so like I said, you just switch the lineup around, and you move Buddy to small forward, you take out Cole, and then you run a smaller lineup, and then you bring him back in. Because when I asked Cole in the FSU game after the game, I asked him about Cy. He's like, Cy's doing a good job, and this, that, and the other. And he's like, we just have to get used to when he's in, Jimmy's not, and we got to get used to that. That shouldn't be like that. Jimmy shouldn't have to come out for Cy to go in.
Yeah.
Somebody else should go out.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's shooting that great, so it's not like you can argue keeping them in, but how I think these guys might shoot better if you have a true point guard that is setting them up.
Again, Coach Boeheim has been there almost 50
years. What you said downstairs. What'd you say about the running game? I'm not on the coaching staff. You'll have to ask them.
I mean, again, I'm a personal trainer. I mean, I can measure athleticism just by looking at an athlete, and hands down, I mean, Torrance is a way better athlete than Gerard. You know, he is. He just creates. He gives them more. He's like the Energizer Bunny when he comes out there. He just gives them so many more options that they know what they need to just attempt to try and figure out a way to get further into the season. Because as of right now, if they stay with the status quo, they're gonna get thumped.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it's just, I said it last year. It wasn't even when Cy wasn't here. It was, you have to, and I said about Kadari, you have to let Kadari play. You have to let him create. He was the best in transition. He was good at the rim. He had the wherewithal that when a guy jumped, he was at least going to get fouled and go to the charity stripe. He was a smart kid. And Pearl Washington, to me, is rolling in his grave, seeing Kadari leave. And Gene Waldron. I mean, these are guys that are looking at Long Island going, oh, this used to be a channel here. And, you know, for Gene, when you ask Gene about Kadari, shake his head like he's beside himself about it, because if you're Syracuse, you don't lose Long Island point guards.
No, you don't.
You just don't.
No, you don't.
You don't lose players from New York State. And to see him go to Seton Hall is a slap in the face, because Syracuse has owned Seton Hall for such a long time.
Again, you know what I'm going to say. 50 years he's been almost been there.
Rob's here like Dave Chappelle. You're playing the
FIF.
Hold on, I got a private document to show everybody. So I want to go back to Syracuse football here, and I found something interesting when I'm looking at it this morning in the transfer portal here at Cafe Kubal on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, with Rob Drummond and myself, Dan Tortora, 2 CNY natives, speaking about the local community, local business, and local student athletes and the local teams. Something hit me a certain way. A bunch of these Syracuse players that are in the transfer portal this year have chosen schools. 3 of them are going to FIU. And I just found it interesting. Florida International, Sherrod Johnson, a wide receiver, going to FIU. Adrian Cole, a cornerback, going to FIU. And Lattery Kinsler, an edge rusher, going to FIU. So I looked into it. Mike McIntyre, who was on the Memphis staff this year, is now the head coach in his first season at FIU with Butch Davis leaving. Defensive coordinator from 2020 to 2021 at the University of Memphis under Ryan Silverfield, who I know. And I was trying to see, does he have a New York State connection? He worked at the University of Georgia, Davidson College, University of Tennessee at Martin, Temple in Philly, University of Mississippi. He worked for the Cowboys as an assistant coach with defensive backs. The Jets, same role, assistant coach, defensive backs. He was at Duke as D coordinator, San Jose State as a head coach, University of Colorado as a head coach for a few seasons. So he doesn't have any direct ties to Syracuse, but don't you find it interesting that FIU went into the transfer portal and took 3 former Syracuse players? So Adrian Cole, Lattery Kinsler, and Sherrod Johnson will continue to be teammates with a new coach, Mike McIntyre. I just found it interesting that we recruit Florida so much, and then Florida International was like, ooh, Syracuse. So
I mean, it's
just an interesting thing there.
Hard to figure some things out sometimes. You know, I think this transfer portal it's exposing a lot of things that the NCAA, could have, should have, or done a lot differently. And I think for a few years, I mean, like all this craziness is going on, it's going to make them look at things a lot different and treat the players with a little bit more respect. Because these coaches get out of their contracts all the time. So that's all these kids are doing. The same thing that the coaches do. They're just not getting paid, hundreds of millions of dollars to do it.
Yeah,
and coaches are,
And that was a thing that we had talked about before. Is coaches signing. I mean, the sheet of paper that a coach signs is as good as the toilet paper that wipes your behind.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I saw 3 coaches in one conference all sign extensions, and they were all gone by the new year.
Wow.
All 3 of them signed an extension, and by the end of December into January, they were on a different team. Wow. And I'm sitting here going, how do you say at the end of a season in November, December, okay, I'm going to stay another 3 years, 2 years, 4 years, and they were gone. And I'm looking at this, I'm going, this is one conference, 3 coaches, this is a quarter of the conference that said, I'm going to honor my commitment, I'm going to be with you, I'm dedicating myself to you, and then a month later, I'm gone.
You figured out. I mean, that's a flexibility that the coaches have.
Right, and so why get mad at a player for going, yo, I'm going to do the same thing?
Exactly.
And like you said, players aren't getting paid millions of dollars to move around.
No, they're not. I mean, that's why one thing I like with this NIL deal coming up, it's like, good, at least you give the players to have something in their pocket. They're the ones out there, especially as a student athlete, getting up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, basically going all day long with classes and practice and study table and everything, not being able to lay your head down until about 11 o'clock at night, and then getting up doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's so methodical, and it's just you barely get time, especially during the season. Time to breathe, and then the other time, you have to deal with class. You have to deal with getting up and going on campus. Here, we have to deal with the elements, Then you have to deal with being sore from after a game. You have to deal with the meetings, and it becomes a grind. You become numb to it.
When you're sore in
after a
the
while,
cold too, which is going to affect you more up here.
It is. You don't even have time. You barely. How do you have time to work to have a little pocket change when you barely have time for yourself?
Well, here's to paint a little picture for everybody that thinks like, oh, D3, D2, D1, AA, blah blah, JUCO. Okay, let me be real with you. I was talking to Max White, who played at CNS, offensive lineman, and he's playing at SUNY Cortland. And he's got an opportunity this year to be the starting left tackle. So he's on this team, D3 at SUNY Cortland. They start at 5 a.m. Mm-hmm. They end at 10, 11 o'clock at night. It's D3. Mm-hmm. Like he told me, football is football. Yeah. It doesn't matter. So you go, D1. No, it's the same. He literally has, to himself, I mean, remember, he's got to take a shower, he's got to eat, he's got to do schoolwork and whatnot. When he finally gets a minute to himself, there's an hour left in the day. There's 1 hour from 11 to midnight left. And between the next time he's got to go to train and get up and run, whatever, he's got 6 or 7 hours of 24 that he can sleep and prepare himself to do it all over again. And it's training, it's running, it's the weight room, it's study hall, then the breakfast, then practice, then this, then, and this is D3. This is Division III football. That's what people don't understand. If it's Division I FBS, Division I FCS, Division II, Division III, or JUCO, it is still 5 a.m.s. It is still all day. It is still weight room. It is still running. It is still looking at film. It is still practice. It is still trying to get your homework done, going to study hall, taking a shower, and sleeping for a couple hours.
It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do before in my life. I mean, just being a student
being
athlete
in the military.
It's a monster.
But it is like military, right?
It really is.
Who else is getting up at 5 a.m. and running?
It's a lot. I mean, that's why the one thing I had so much respect for our walk-on athletes who I'm sitting there saying to myself, there's no way I'd be able to play play football here if I wasn't on scholarship. Like they work us to death, But when you have a full scholarship, you can rationalize that. You can be like, you know what? Well, I'm not paying to go to school, so all right, they can work me like this. But
if you're a walk-on,
you look back on it, you're like, oh my God. They're trying to kill us here.
Yeah. But if you're a walk-on, Seamus Shanley, right?
Yeah.
You go to Syracuse now, $80,000 a year.
Oof.
You're a walk-on, Seamus, going to that school. I mean, you look at Stetson Bennett, a preferred walk-on who goes to Georgia and becomes the starting quarterback.
Yeah, but how often does something like that happen?
Right, it's rare. But think about that. That man said to himself, "I am a walk-on." And I'm going to run with the team, and I'm going to practice with the team, and I'm going to do everything with the team. And look at what he's made of himself.
Wasn't that, is that, if I'm not mistaken, his hometown, or he's from Georgia? Or
yeah, he's from Georgia.
Okay, that's why, for him, it was like a lifelong dream, to play, for his hometown Bulldogs. Just like
and Seamus here. Seamus was told, go play D3.
Yeah.
And Seamus was like, you know what, I want to do this. And he said, Doug Marone met with him. And you can watch the video on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt from the Wildcat. But Seamus said, Doug put a paper in front of him. The paper had what he needed to do to get right, to get there, and to do what he needed to do. He said, do you want this? He said, yes, I do. He said, how bad do you want it? He said, I want it bad. He said, you want it bad? He said, yeah, I want to do this. And Joe Corley, his coach at West Jenny, he texted me last night. He goes, I was one of the doubters. He said, I told Seamus, go play D3 and have a career and enjoy yourself. He said, he proved me wrong, started 5 games in the ACC, and he goes, I am happy. He said, I'm so happy that I was wrong. Mm-hmm. Like some people, they got an ego and whatever. He's like, I told him to play D3. He proved me wrong with other people, and I'm ecstatic that he made me wrong.
Yeah, good for him.
And Seamus, because Seamus wanted it, and he believed in it. And I said to Seamus, I said, when you see Stetson Bennett, does that excite you? He goes, Dan, when I read that he was a walk-on, I immediately got, connected to that. Because you're right. They're trying to kill you out there in practice. And those walk-ons are paying $80,000 to throw up every day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, I mean, you guys getting a free education, and that's what one of the players said to me recently. He goes, we can rationalize the fact of like, hey, yeah, they're trying to kill us, but I'm getting a free degree, and I don't have to pay this. I'm never going to have student debt.
Yeah, trust me, we earn every bit of whatever that scholarship that they gave us there. I mean, because they worked it off of us. Holy smokes, that was 4 years of hell. You know,
What did you get a degree in? I never asked you.
Sociology.
Sociology, the study of people.
Yep. That's why I'm so very, very, very good with figuring people out and understanding people. You know, just their methodology, their moods, their swings. People aren't hard to figure out. All you gotta do is just sit there and observe them. They'll expose who they are every single day. You know, just figure them out. We always say, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Believe them. And I tell people all the time, when someone tells you
Believe
who they are,
Yeah.
you believe that. Because, you know, like, and trust me, like, I would have saved so many sleepless nights dating if I believe when that girl goes, listen, I'm a little crazy. And I'm like, all right.
Dan, they didn't have to tell you. I could have told you that.
But you know what I mean? It's like when somebody
Run!
when somebody says to you, like the day they meet you, they're like, I don't believe in God at all.
Yeah.
I have no faith. You think that's a problem? I'm like,
Run.
yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, or when someone's like, hey, I like to do drugs. Is that cool with you? I'm like,
Run.
you know,
Fast.
or like I have no drive. I switch jobs all the time. Run.
Bro, look like you have a lot of practices this. Oh my God.
Now, listen, I go down the line and tell everybody I can write a book about this. So, I mean, I told Rob, you know my stand-up. You've heard a lot of it.
Yeah.
You've lived it with me.
So,
When I get on stage that day and Rob's laughing in the corner or whatever, he's going to turn to the person next to him and be like, hey, I know that lady he's talking about. I know that man. But he ain't lying.
The fact that you have a lot of material about women, it's a little scary. There might be some crazies out there.
There's a lot of crazy out there, Rob.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what? And the thing is, what you realize is when you talk to men and women about their relationships, we've all met a psychopath.
Yes.
Like, we've all literally met a serial killer.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I've just happened to meet like 9 of them.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've all met somebody where you're like, if I stayed in that relationship 1 month longer, my face would have been a lampshade in their apartment.
Dude, there are sometimes you would call me in the past, and I would take my phone and put it on speakerphone and just sit it there, and literally just like when I'm doing something else, let you just go off and rant. I'm like, he'll get it out of his system, soon enough, and then when you're done talking, I'd come back on and talk to you. I'm like, okay, he's got to get some stuff off his chest.
No, there's a lot. There's a lot that I've seen in this world.
You do some crazy ones, so I just leave it at that.
I feel like Hitler would be like, she's crazy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, she crazy.
Most definitely. Like, whoa.
But, you know, we've all seen it.
Yes.
We've all seen it. We've all lived it. And I think it's taught me so much. This is what I said to God, and you know I don't challenge you. Please understand this is a joke. But I looked up at God and I said, I think I have enough material now. I don't think I needed this one. And God's like, yeah, but I want to. I was like, no, you don't understand. I could go on a year tour and not run out of material and then go next year and be like, I got something else for you.
Yeah.
You know, but it's, I think that he gave it to me to help the world understand that we all go through stuff, and maybe I can make somebody laugh through their pain and talk them off a ledge. Right?
That's true.
You know, I think I have enough information to live 4 lifetimes and continue the comedy. But I mean, Rob, it's just, if you were a fly on the wall, I can't. That's why you need to be my bodyguard.
Oh my God, yes, you definitely know some out there people. That's me just being nice.
I had a girl break up with me because I wore black pants to a picture.
Right, you know how to pick them, bro.
No, listen, I thought it was country girl. I thought she was nice. You know, let me just tell you like this. Whenever somebody says, I want a country girl, because you know, they treat their men well and they're so hospitable, they're not all the same. They may look like Carrie Underwood, but they're not. They don't sing like her. They're not nice like her. They're not everybody's Carrie Underwood.
Wouldn't you just want a normal person?
That's what I have now.
Oh,
I have a normal human being. I have somebody who has feelings, who goes out of her way and is there for you and shows you that she cares, puts it on her sleeve, wants to work as a team.
But don't all crazy women do that too? I mean, before they turn To show you the crazy.
That's why you gotta watch. That's why, Rob. That's why, I took sociology in school too, Rob. I took the intro to This is what let me ask you this, since you're a sociology major. How do you not profile? Because when I was like in the first few weeks of sociology and we were looking at statistics and stuff, I was like, it is so hard to look at this and to not become like jaded by statistical information.
You can't let former relationships or former ideologies, creep in and have you sit there and judge someone. As I said, just sit back there and observe them. Just watch them for a little while. Whether it be 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, eventually everyone exposes who they are.
Yeah.
It's hard to not, basically you can hide it for 10, 15 minutes, but eventually your true self is going to come out.
I said even Joe Pesci didn't stay in character the whole time.
The true self is going to come out. I mean, I like if someone sits there and tells me about myself, I'll be like, or when they tell me, well, I met you one time, blah blah blah. You did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. I'm like, okay, that sounds exactly like who I am. I don't stray away from who I am. I'm a kind person. I'm very, very respectful. I was raised that way. I'll treat you with the utmost respect until you give me a reason not to. And when you give me a reason not to, it's not like I'm going to be mean or angry or anything towards you. I'm just going to avoid you because I don't like dealing with people with conflict, because my resolution with conflict is my favorite Marvel character, or the Hulk, is the smash. So in order for me not to get into trouble and things of that nature, I tend to avoid conflict and avoid confrontation. So I meet people who are confrontational like that nature, I tend to stray away from. Yeah. So that's just my personality. That's who I am. So people can figure me out, and I always say to myself, of course you can figure me out. That's just who I am. I'm very soft-spoken. I like being behind the scenes. I don't like being, the center of attention. I mean, that's just who I am. I never have been. I like to, even as a football player, I just love to be able to go out there, do the job I had to do, leave the field, and just live in obscurity. Try and live a quiet life. Of course, I couldn't, but I was still always respectful to people who were respectful to me. If you weren't respectful to me, I just didn't have time for you.
Well, and that's the thing is like. That's and I've told you this before, that I go to the same place.
Yes.
I go to that Hulk place. Like, there was one time I was in Wegmans, and there was just stuff on my mind, stuff was going on. I was like, if somebody, like, hits me with the cart, when it hits your heel, I said, these pants are going to rip, I'm going to turn green. Like, I knew, and I've called you on days where I'm like, Rob, I'm there. Yeah. Like, and what I do is similar to what you do, is that I know, because people say you're 6'4", 5'8", oh, okay. And I'm like, I know that I can protect myself. Mm-hmm. And I know I can protect the people I care about. I am not a person that thinks that, being violent, being angry is good.
It solves no problem.
Right. It just makes things worse.
Yes, much worse.
So the way that I show somebody that I'm done is silence.
Yeah, don't say anything.
Like, if I don't talk to you, and I've had people where it's like, they've done something, they've said something, I've walked away.
Oh, so have I.
A week later, they do something, they say something, I find out, I don't respond. Yeah. They do something, they say something, I don't respond. A couple months later, they do something, they say something, I don't respond. And I'm like, I'm just going to let them, like, they're wasting their own energy to drive themselves nuts, but I can't give them the satisfaction of reacting.
Yes.
Because when you raise your voice, you know what it tells that person? Even though you're not that person, when you finally get to that point, you swear, you raise your voice, you call them a name, you know what they say? You are who I thought you were.
Yeah.
And you're not, but they want to get you there. Yeah. And for me, it's like, hey, I tell people this all the time. If you're a good person, just keep living without even thinking about it. Because if you're a good person, it's going to naturally come out of you. Yeah. And eventually, whatever people hear about you, whatever people say about you, someone's going to eventually go, I don't really think that Rob is who you say. I don't really think Dan is, because, you say they're this, and this, but I've always seen them go out and they help people. They're calm. They're polite. I saw them in 2012. I saw them in 2022. Same person. Mm-hmm. And my friend Lisa said that to me. She goes, you have something rare. And it was so ironic. She said this today to me on the day that something happened in my life that was like huge and life-changing. And it was happening in the background. I didn't even know about it. She said to me that day, not knowing this, she said, if somebody met you when you were 3, when you were a teenager, when you were in college, or now, you have a rarity. And I said, what is it? She said, any of us that met you at any given time met Dan Tortora. You've been the same kid your whole life. Mm-hmm. She said, you have no idea how hard it is to pull that off. that all of us know you and would describe you the same way no matter when we met you, because you've always been true to who you are. You can't deviate from being the good person you are. And I tell people that all the time. People are going to, my dad says it to me all the time. He said, listen, people are always going to talk about you.
Ain't that the truth?
Don't give them a reason to be right. Don't give them a reason. They're going to do it, but don't ever make them right.
You know, my philosophy is, I don't care. I mean, here's the thing. I know who I am. I know my worth. I know, what it is I bring to the table as a human being every single day. I try and go out there, and especially since my father's murder, I try and go out there and be a kind, caring, empathetic person towards everybody. I say thank you. I say no thank you. I say yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. I'm polite. One, that's how I was raised, too. I just want to be able to put that instill, because I know a lot of young children, even a lot of adults, look up to me. So, I'd rather be, me personally, I'd rather be the example than the excuse. I mean, this is the example of why you should do everything wrong. For all that's happened to me in my life, and for still just being angry at my father's murder, I still go out there and I'm a nice person and treat everybody with kindness and respect. And so if you can't do the same as me, then I like I said, I don't care. I don't want to be around you. I don't want negative energy around me. I refuse to have negative energy.
And that's what people don't get out. When they meet me now, I always tell people, what I learned, you don't get to go. If I learned a lesson,
yes,
you don't get to reteach it to me. So if I let somebody walk all over me 10 years ago, and you try to do it today, I see it in the moment, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done in the moment. You don't get another chance. So I tell people that all the time. I'm like, what you don't seem to understand, I don't care who you are. I don't care who you know. I don't care how big you think you are, how bad you think you are. I don't care who you're connected to. If you disrespect me one time, and you don't apologize and change your behavior, you only get one time. And people say, well, you hold a grudge. My dad said, he's like, you don't forgive people. I said, no. I forgive everybody. That doesn't mean I keep you around.
Yeah.
I have everyone in my life that's wronged me has been forgiven. But if you didn't apologize and you didn't change your behavior and treat me with respect the way I treat you with respect, you're not in my life.
Yeah.
Because I don't have time to deal with drama. And I tell people all the time, and I tell my girlfriend that we're talking, I go, if someone's dramatic.
Oh, I ain't got time for that.
I was like, I can't do, if I bring up someone's, if I tell you somebody, I'm like, Rob, this happened, and immediately my stomach is less air and I feel like I can't breathe. If me just saying the name of somebody gets me agitated, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So I might just look at you and go, yo, Rob, they ain't right.
I agree.
And that's it. But I would rather talk to you about what we having for lunch. What are we doing today? What kid did you just train that you think is going to get there? How do you feel about something, this business has just opened up down here. How was your time with your son down in Florida? Life is moments.
Yeah.
And I can get into something on my show and I could say, hey, you know what? I'm against the fact that there's not local recruiting. I'm against the fact that, alumni are not respected by Syracuse. I don't like that. But I'm passionate, but I'm not stressed about it.
Yeah, I'm not either.
If I'm stressed talking about something, talking about it more is just killing your energy. It's not killing their vibe. So there's no point in it. And when you put the phone down in the past and let me go, I don't do that anymore, Rob. You don't see me call you for an hour and be like, blah, 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 because all it was doing was making me mad.
Yeah.
Yes, there are people in this world that drive you nuts, but they're not worth talking about.
It's me with Syracuse football. I think anyone who knows me knows the passion I have for Syracuse football and Syracuse sports since I was a player there. The love I have for my city and the former players who I call warriors who for 4 years or 5 years got up every morning to put that work in to put us on a map to make us nationally recognized. And to see what's happened in my university and see a coaching staff that just comes in and just treats it as if it's it's not that big of a deal. Well, sorry, but as a hometown kid born and raised here who played at Syracuse, who has a passion for Syracuse, it is a big deal to me. It's I have friends across the country that call me and be like, what's going on at Syracuse? For me as a former player to sit here and be like, I have no idea because I feel like an outsider looking in, that's sad. I'm trying to think of any other major program that's trying to do well that really, I won't say they shun us because Dion is trying to do things to try and get us more involved with the university as former players. But, I'm pretty sure I'm not there, so I don't know, but I'm pretty sure his hands are tied, because he's not the one making all the calls. It's, that's good, because it starts at the top and everything else works its way down, so. I mean, I just know I love Syracuse. I love the athletes here. I love seeing them successful. Every year, I'm always looking at, the huddle pages of athletes and everything, just to see how they're doing. Because I'm always going to support local athletes, no matter what it is, until I have no more breath in my body, whether Syracuse does or not.
Yeah, and what I love is when you support the kids in the community. Like, I hear, I'll be out in public and nothing else will do that. I mean, the connection you have when you do this, and I'll go out to the Dome, and I interviewed this one team, I think it was at Liverpool, and my mom came to a game with Amy, and you know Amy. And so my mom's a shout out to my mom. She said hi to Rob this morning. So we're out at the SU football game a couple of years ago. It was probably like 2019, and my mom came to the game. She's hanging out. I said, at halftime, I'm going to come out of the press box, come down and see you. So she was like right beneath the press box. So I went over to see her. I had my badge on, and I see this guy looking at me, and I'm like, "What does this guy want?" And my head went negative, which it shouldn't. And I was like, what? And I flipped my badge over. I'm like, why is this guy looking at my badge? And he's looking at me, and he's looking at the badge, and he's like listening to us, and I could tell. And he's sitting right behind my mom, and he leans in and he goes, "Are you Dan Tortora?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "You just interviewed my daughter a couple days ago. You did something with her team." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he told me his name. He's like, "She's not used to public speaking. This isn't something she does." He's like, "Dan, you got my daughter out of her shell. It was great to see her like that, and I loved it, and I'd love to have her back on, and I just wanted to let you know I appreciate it." And my mom looked at me, all welled up, tears, and she looked at me, and she hugged me, and she goes, "Don't you ever tell me you're not making a difference."
Yeah.
Like, supporting the community. I've met parents yesterday. Seamus Shanley, his family came out, his dad came out, and his dad, I've never met him, he'd like supported me on social media from afar, and he just came up to me and he was like, "Hey," he shook my hand, he goes, "Thank you for what you do." I was like, I'm just being me. And he's like, "Thank you. We appreciate it."
Yeah.
He was like, "God bless you." And he meant it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've met grandma and grandpa, I've met mom and dad, brother and sister, and there's something about, like, I went to one of the games in the Dome, and I had interviewed J.J. Razmovsky from CNS. Well, his brother Jackson's at CNS now. So Jackson's playing. I'm leaving, and this guy comes up to me, and he goes, "Hey, Dan." And he told me his name. He goes, "JJ's father, you interviewed my son." He goes, "I love listening to those interviews. By the way, you should talk to my other son, Jackson. I know he'd appreciate it." And then I met Sayer's mom and Jim Bell from Ma and Pa's, who his son James is on the team. And he goes, "Have you ever met Mrs. Torres?" And I said, "No, I haven't." Like, I talked to Sayer and Samir. So I said to her, I was like, "Oh, Dan Tortora." And I went to say, and she goes, "Oh, I know." She goes, "Wait a minute." She's like, "You're that broadcaster?" And she goes, "You asked my son about this." And she remembered the stuff we talked. She's like, "Oh, you asked him about that. I remember our interview. You did it. You had him and you had one of the other kids on." She gives me a big hug. She introduces me to her husband, and I'm talking to him, and I was like, "I just want you guys to know something. Sayer," I said, "Yeah, he's talented. Yeah, he's good. He just won a championship. That's awesome." I said, "You guys need to go home today, and parents need to know this when they do this." I said, "You raised a great kid. Mm-hmm. You raised an awesome son. He's super respectful, great manners, just a really nice guy. And I just need you to go home today, and when you put your head on the pillow, know that you raised a really, really good kid, and I'm honored to talk to him because you guys are good parents." Mm-hmm. Like, there's something about, like, when you help the community, you end up knowing, like, 4 generations. Yeah. And then, like, the daughter, and then, like, "Oh my God, you talked to my grandmother," when, it's the gift that keeps on giving, because it makes your world so tiny, and it really makes you feel like you have the heartbeat of the community and they have the heartbeat of you. Like, you can touch it. Yeah. And you know what that, I don't have to tell that to you.
That's what I've been trying to explain by being a local kid playing. I mean, when I went to Syracuse, I felt that like the whole community had me in the grasp of their hand, just protecting me to make sure I was successful. Now, I had to put in the work to make myself successful, but I had an entire community that had my back. And that's the best feeling in the world. You know what? One of the greatest things that I get up and I look forward to every single day that is meeting someone that have met my sons, Robert or Jaden, and they always tell me, it's like, wow, you have two of the nicest kids we've ever met before. It's like, you as parents, you guys did a great job. And as a parent, that's like, that's all you ever want. Just to understand, it's like, you bust your behind every single day to be the best person you possibly can be, to be a good parent. And for me, it's just not an extension of just my own children, because now I have thousands of younger athletes, especially the ones I train, that I know look up to me, that I know that I'm a role model. So I have to be the example, not the excuse. So I have to, if I expect them to be upstanding, hardworking, respectful citizens in the community, I have to show them how to do it. So they have to lead by example. So even all the kids out there now, I can tell them Josiah Williams, Akeem Williams, Steve Valerie, Sid Valerie. I mean, I can go on and on. Amani Jackson. I can go on and on about the athletes I've trained over the years. I mean, again, I trained Buddy Boeheim and Jimmy also. Yeah. But it's like they're all good kids because I expect that from them because I expect it from myself. And I expect it from them because I show them that what it is to be someone who's in the position they are, probably a little bit higher because I played professional also. But you can still be a Division I college athlete or Division II college athlete. You can still be a professional athlete, but still keep your humility and still keep your respect factor there. That doesn't change just because you get a little notoriety, you get a little fame, you get a little recognition. Don't ever let fame, recognition, and notoriety go to your head because at the end of the day, we're all going to be buried in the same ground. We're all the same human beings. Our blood may be different, different paths and different bodies, but it does the same thing. Yeah. So never think you're better than anybody else, and go out there and be humble and respectful.
LL Cool J said it. Never let the wins go to your head, the losses go to your heart.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's things that always stay with me and notions like that. And we've said it the whole show, who you are always comes through. Who you are as a coach, who you are as a player, who you are as a business owner.
It's not hard to figure people out.
No, because people will always show you who they are.
That's why I always try and tell you. It's like, I mean, when I sit here and say, I let it go, I ignore it, I ignore ignorance. So if something's being ignorant, somebody's doing something that I feel, in my gut instinct is the wrong thing, or that's not respectful or something I wouldn't do. I tend to, as long as it's not hurting a woman or hurting a child, I'll turn my back on it and be like, nah, I'm not a part of this. It's not who I am. If I think somebody's in danger or I think somebody's hurt, anything like that, I'm going to speak up.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, like, I had that happen to me. Somebody judged me. They were ignorant. They didn't know me. They were very close to somebody that I care about very much so. It's the first time I had interacted with a person face-to-face. Ignorant, just naive, illogical, irrational. Like, and I called one of my friends afterward, and we were talking about it because he would tell me something that was happening in his life that was really hard. And I said, well, you shared this with me. I want to share this with you. And he said to me, he goes, well, you must have peace. He said, because they didn't know an ounce of you. He goes, they didn't even describe anything that was close to you. He said, you know who you are. Mm-hmm. And when you don't know who you are, the world will tell you, and you will mutate. But when you know who you are in that situation, I stood up for myself. I said, this is how I feel. This is who I am. And after a while, I looked him right in the eye and I said, I know you're not listening to me. I know you're not hearing me. The person that was defending me, I looked at them and I said,
it's not even worth it.
I said, listen, they're not listening to you. They're not listening to me. And to this day, they doubled down instead of like saying, hey, I'm sorry. And I went, you know what? It's ignorance. And that's everybody that heard the situation. They're like, they described the antithesis of you. They didn't describe Dan Tortora. They described everything you don't like.
Yeah.
And you're not going to make, if somebody flew off the handle, judged you right off the whip, you're not going to get that person to know who you are because they didn't want to know the first day. Yeah. So they're not going to know the 20th day, and they're going to lose. And that's what my mom always told me. She goes, Dan, you're a good kid. You work hard. If they don't want to know you, that's on them. Because you can't make somebody do something. We can talk about Dino local recruiting. We can't make him do it.
No,
we can give him the reasoning.
That's why, I mean...
We can't make Buddy... We can't make Jim say, hey, I'm going to move Joe to shooting guard and put Samir in for 5 minutes. We can talk about stuff, But at the end of the day, the only thing you can control is yourself.
I have no power to make any change on the Hill. So until other than that, it's just my opinion, and I'm entitled to my opinion, just like anybody else in this world is entitled to their opinion. You know, I base it off what I see. Will they make a change? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I'm still a Syracuse legend. I'm not losing games up there. You know, I've been retired. I'm just trying to help them be successful, so they can put fans back in the seats, you know, and they can go back to that Syracuse winning tradition. But if they think they know a better formula, okay, I'll wait to see what they're going to do.
I mean,
for football, I've been waiting for what?
Cervasier is not that good enough to recruit, you know?
I mean, I've been waiting for they're recruiting. Well, that's true. I'm thinking Sayer. I'm thinking.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this and saying to myself, like, Vasi wasn't good enough, right? Went to Pitt, won an ACC championship, and went and played a New Year's Six Bowl. Like, I speak in logical, rational terms, but we were talking about it before the show. If you engage somebody, you just said it. If you engage somebody and you say, that's not what I said, this is what I said, here's my reasoning, and you just see them like flying off the handle. As soon as somebody takes your words and starts to mutate and twist them, I'll go, hey, that's not what I said. If I got to say that 7 times, that's on me, because now I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
You're not wasting my time. I'm wasting my own time. Like, I speak in logical, rational terms, and most people say to me, hey, Dan, thanks for supporting local. And a couple people say to me, you're out of your mind, New York sucks, I hate New York, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, then why do you live here? Why do you support this team?
Yeah.
And let me ask you this question. If a kid from Hawaii fails at, no, I don't want to say fails. If a kid from Hawaii doesn't do well at Syracuse and a kid from Syracuse struggles at Syracuse, who are you more willing to root for? The kid from Hawaii that you don't know, or the kid from Syracuse who you grew up down the street from and has seen him since he was 3 years old?
The kid from Syracuse, because you're going to see him in the community.
Well, the thing is, Alabama recruits all over the country, but do they not recruit Alabama?
Oh, they
Does Wyoming not recruit? Does Wyoming not recruit Wyoming? Does California not recruit Cal? Every state that I know recruits their state, except for Syracuse. Buffalo recruits here.
Maybe they have a plan that's going to change the dynamics of the things that are going on right now. But it's like they just haven't let us in. So hopefully they'll let us in within the next year or 2 or however long his contract's for.
All I'm going to say is hire Rob and I as special assistant to the head coach, and we'll make sure you don't go 1-10 again.
I guarantee you that the dome would be packed. I guarantee you that. I mean,
we'd have the right people there.
You take a local athlete, an average local athlete, he's going to give you 150% every single time.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
They're playing in front of their family.
Yeah, he's going to give you 100. I had a cheering section during practices at Syracuse because our family and the community was allowed to come and watch our practices. And Coach Mack was like, sure, you know, whatever keeps our players level-headed, you know, and just, you know, grounded. But he was all for. So I would have literally, there'd be like 30 fans in the stands, like every single game. We would always get cheers and everything from people in the stands, and that was just so. For a young college kid who's going through a tough time at Syracuse, to hear the fans in practice cheering you and encouraging us on, and made the biggest difference. It definitely did. We definitely knew we were a community team at that point.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, this is the school they want to play for. Yeah. Everybody that grew up in this community, 99.9% of them have been to the Dome, have watched an SU game, have worn orange and blue. They have Syracuse gear. It's an easy sell. Yeah. All Dino had, and this is the thing that I don't get though. When you say you haven't been to a game all year, all you had to do was walk into your arena.
Should have never said that.
And when he said that, you know what? The first thing I thought of, Sire.
I
thought of Sire going, I played a sectional championship there and won, and I won a state championship, and the coach who gave me an offer didn't even come say hi.
I mean, it's like if I had $1 for every fan. I won't say fan, the person that I know at these high school games that I go in, that recognize me or say anything. You know what they always say? You know, thank you. We appreciate a lot for you showing up to these high school games.
Thanks for coming out.
Even the Pop Warner games. They're like, you always go to the Pop Warner games. Even in college, they always told me, the Pop Warner kids, they always told me, yeah, Drum, you always came to the games. I was like, I'm always going to support my local athletes here, whether it be field hockey, basketball, whatever the sport may be. I'm going to show these athletes here that they have people like myself, you know, in their background, you know, cheering for them to be successful.
And I'm looking at Syracuse's roster right now as we talk about it. There's 3 kids from the Bronx. David Obeng is somebody that is a preferred walk-on. I talked to him beforehand. Malik Matthew and Elijah Fuentes Cundiff are from the Bronx at Cardinal Hayes in New York, and I'm going just up and down this roster looking for any semblance of. Eric Coley is not from Manlius. He came in here but didn't grow up here, but he's written as Manlius, New York. Mario Escobar, I don't believe is scholarshiped. He's a running back from Melville, St. Anthony's in New York, so that's not a scholarship player. Colby Barker, the punter, Pittsford, New York, is on here. Stephen Mahar Jr., the tight end from Rochester Aquinas Institute, there's one. And then Nate and Patrick, I don't believe either one of them. Patrick Alberga and Nate Wellington are not scholarship, I don't believe. Ryan Kisselstein, Elijah Wright, and TJ Harness, I don't think any of those guys from Syracuse are scholarship. So there's no scholarship players from Central New York. There's one scholarship player from Rochester.
Wow. No wonder.
And if you looked at Steve Adazio's in Massachusetts going to a bowl game at BC every year except for 1 year, if you look at Steve Adazio's roster, it was like 70% Mass. It was a ton of Massachusetts, and then it was Rhode Island, New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, Syracuse area, New York area, and then we had like one guy from California, like one guy from Florida, one guy from Texas. The majority of his team was Massachusetts. And when people are like, well, you can't win in the Northeast, I'm like, then how did Steve Adazio, who coached here, how does Steve Adazio go to a bowl game almost every single year in the same conference as Syracuse, same division as Syracuse, was better than Syracuse? You're telling me it doesn't work, yet a Northeast coach who's kept his Northeast ways has worked with him over and over and over again. And you tell me there's no talent in PA, Massachusetts, New York, and I'm looking at this roster right now saying to myself, okay, well, they're doing the opposite of Adazio, and Adazio won.
I mean, you have a roster with no – it says a lot.
And you know what people would argue with me? Well, Dan, what are you saying that – and this is how somebody who's illogical would come back at us. What do you say, Michael Jones sucks because he's not from New York?
Who said
that? Are you saying you don't like Sean Tucker? All I'm saying is bring in people from the community. What would this team look like if all these guys were, let's say Sean Tucker, Michael Jones, and all these guys were on the team, plus Servassier and Stevie Scott, plus Mike Washington Jr., plus, in history, plus a Dorsey Levens, plus a Latavius Murray, plus a John Phillips only blocked for Andre Williams and A.J. Dillon, two of the best backs in BC history, and A.J. Dillon's now playing for the Packers. And John Phillips worked his way up, and Steve Adazio, he earned the right to be a starter on that team.
But here's the plus. Not only do you get a local athlete that can make your team better and get more fans to come into the stands, once this local athlete most likely goes pro, like myself, Tim Green, Chris Gedney, Scott Schwades,
Chandler Jones, Arthur Jones.
But they're still, Arthur, but we moved back and we live in the community.
Yeah.
So now we can go. We have these stars that can go to the high school games, go to the schools and speak. So we're not only did we do our service as football players on the football team at the time when we retired from the sport that we loved to play, the game of football in our professional careers, we moved back to the city that we actually played in because we're from here, we're local. So now it's even more. So now these kids get a double added thing of now with myself, a former 15 years professional athlete, can go out there and teach these kids now how to play the game of football the right way. I moved back to the community that I knew best and I loved. That's what you're going to get. How many kids during the Babers era have moved back to Syracuse, even ones that didn't make football?
Right. And the best player that you've had in a decade, Eric Dungy, he ain't coming back.
Why would he? He's not from here.
So, you look at all this, and then you look at, what you were just saying and talking about coming back here and supporting it and whatnot. I want to go a step further. What about the alumni? And other people brought this up and asked that we talk about it on the show. What about the alumni that played at Syracuse, whether or not they're from the community? Here's another wrinkle.
They don't feel welcome.
So they have you that grew up in the community, came back here, built a business here afterward. Mm-hmm. What about the Antoine Baileys and the Andre Fontanettes who are coaching, who played at Syracuse?
Very good coaches.
And they're coaching, and they're a bridge to the high schools.
Yep.
And the current coaching staff isn't talking to Bailey or Fontanet about their talent.
You tell me. I mean,
That's another wrinkle because they're not from Syracuse, but they're Syracuse alumni that are high school coaches.
They have ties, though.
They have ties.
Like in a heartbeat, they would love to help their alma mater in the university. But if you can't. I can't help you if you don't reach out to me and try, and sit there and ask for your help. It's like, I'm not.
There's former Syracuse coaches that have called Dino
to
say like, hey, we have an assistant that would love to come back, that would love to go to Syracuse. And the coach said to me, he goes, he didn't even return my phone call.
I know.
And he was trying to give him a D-line coach. Oh, you just fired Vincent Reynolds. We got a guy for you. No phone call.
Of course not.
So it's like you got former coaches that are trying to bring you coaches, and you need to fill spots. You have former players that are coaching high schools that are a bridge to your recruiting that would help you in your recruiting all over the country and not just in the state of New York. Then you have people like yourself that played here and live here that are right down the road. They don't want to talk to like. It's as one coach said to me, one D1 FBS coach said to me. He said it sounds like what is happening there is the most perfect way to kill a program.
Yep. I mean, if you can, please make it make sense to me, because right now it makes absolutely no sense at all. But hey, like I said, I have no power and no control up there. I'm not losing. So
I had one kid tell me that he was like him and some of the team that had just been there before the Dino Babers era. Mm-hmm. They went onto the field at a game, and they were escorted off the field because the current coaching leader had them taken off the field because he didn't want them on the field.
Why?
So you literally had alumni escorted off the field by security. In your home.
Good luck. I wish him well.
I do too.
I love Syracuse football. I wish him well, but I'm not.
But what are you gaining by escorting your alumni off the field by security?
I'm not gonna break my neck and sit here and try and have someone pay attention to me that doesn't seem to want to pay attention.
What did they gain when they honored your 87 team?
Yes.
What did they gain when they told you guys we're going to honor you and then made you sit on the other side behind Pittsburgh?
You'd have to ask them.
What do you gain from that? And then they told you couldn't go in the Ernie Davis room. Well, who can go? If the alumni can't go in there, who can go in there? Ernie Davis, he's not here.
All I know is that there was a reason that team was undefeated and nationally ranked. There was a team that the following year in '88, when 10-2, and played another New Year's Day bowl game and was nationally ranked. And then the year after that, they went 9-3, nationally ranked, played in the Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
So we knew about getting a national championship, not national championship, but I'm getting a nationally televised games and playing on New Year's Day bowl games and being nationally ranked. What does the current football team know about that?
Well, even go to Long Island and New York City area, Don McPherson, and then the last time that they went to the boroughs, they got Jay Bromley, who had no offers, who got drafted in the third round and ended up playing with the Giants for a bunch of seasons, and then played with Drew Brees.
It's sad. I can't even name a wide receiver on the team. Because really, what they do all year, I can name the quarterback and I can name the running back.
Yeah.
That's not hard. Sean Tucker and Garrett Trader. Because
a bunch of the receivers
Sean Tucker,
left.
Garrett Trader, Sean Tucker, Garrett Trader. If I'm a wide receiver, why am I coming to Syracuse? When you run the ball all the time, you have a quarterback that you haven't shown me that's a proven mid to the deep level passer. You haven't shown it to me. So are they going to develop him? But now I hear about this guy coming in, transferring in from I think from Michigan.
Dan Villari.
Quarterback who transferred from Michigan, and they're touting him
He's got 4 years. He didn't really play.
As a great runner, blah, blah, blah. Then I look at his stats in Michigan, and he only, I think, attempted 3 passes to him, 5 yards rushing. I'm like, you're touting him as the next Tim Tebow, and the young man's done nothing.
Attempted 3 passes and 8 carries or something like that. And they're like, well, look at his skill set. Okay.
He had the same skill set at Michigan. He didn't play none.
Right. And Tommy DeVito, mark my words, if he gets out there on the field, because I think he's got one guy to beat based on the 1 or 2 guys maybe to beat. Talk to his mom about it.
He gets a quarterback coach. He's going to be a good quarterback.
He's in the Big Ten right now, where it's all about building in the trenches with the offensive and defensive line. He's playing for Illinois. Mark my words, which are also orange and blue. If he gets to be a pocket passer and they block for him and he gets to stand in the pocket and be a traditional quarterback, watch his numbers.
I told you, I saw Tommy DeVito in a relaxed position. That first practice last August, in January, not in January, but in September.
Yeah.
And my jaw dropped. I mean, I was like, wow, this kid can throw the ball. He's got a gun for an arm. Now, he's the type of person who gets a good quarterback's coach and he gets some time to pass. Just watch. Just watch.
And I said, him going to the Big Ten, great idea. And I looked at who they had. They got one guy moving on. They got another guy who played a bit, coming back. So he's got to arguably beat out one potential experienced guy, and then maybe one other guy that's transferring in or something like that, and he can make it work.
They never put him in a position to be successful here.
No. And the thing is, Eric Dungy had, 3 or 4 quarterback coaches in 4 years?
Yeah.
So a bunch of different coordinators, and it's not fair to a kid to have multiple position coaches, and then you put it all on them. And then at the same time, I'm going to go the other side of this. Vincent Reynolds, arguably, Vincent Reynolds had the best overall unit on Syracuse this past 2021 season on the D-line, overseeing the D-line, had the best unit. Mm-hmm. Literally, the best unit, best experienced guy in a decade since Tim Doust under Schaefer and all that. Best unit, and he gets fired for having Kingsley Jonathan, McKinley Williams, Curtis Harper, Caleb Okechukwu, Josh Black, and Cody Roscoe. What did Vincent Reynolds do wrong? Nothing.
I have no idea.
How do you fire a position coach that's doing better than all of your other position coaches?
Dan Conley was fired when the linebackers were the best part of the defense back when he was fired under Marone. Yeah. So I don't know what their criteria is for.
Is it 3 words? Sounds like ego. Or 3 letters? Pardon me. Sounds like ego. Why would you fire a coach like that? Hey, Vincent, you did a terrific job. I had somebody tell me that before. I had this lady that was a COO, and she called me one day. She goes, I know nothing. I was working at a radio station. She said, I know nothing about sports. Her husband was the owner. She's like, I know nothing about sports, nothing about what you do. We're not going to renew your contract. She said, now understand, it has nothing to do with your professionalism, nothing to do with your work ethic. And I was sitting on the phone listening. I go, oh, so it's just personal.
Yeah.
So you're telling me I do a great job, but I can't come back. That's what I feel like Vincent Reynolds. Hey, you did a phenomenal job. You can't come back.
Stop trying to figure people out. A long time ago, I let them show. I know what Dino Babers is, but I'm going to let other people figure it out themselves.
It's that Phil Collins song, True Colors.
Let them figure it out themselves. I've seen him. I've seen 5 years of him, going on 6. So I know who he is, what he's about. So
can we, before we go, mention Nottingham's Derek Gore?
Oh yeah.
Who went on to Alabama. Nick Saban recruited, but he wasn't good enough to play at Syracuse. Derek Gore, now in the backfield of the Kansas City Chiefs, who are fighting for another opportunity at the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts on Mr. Gore coming out of Nottingham?
I'm so absolutely proud of him. Nick Patterson, who's a coach out at Marcellus right now. Shout out to Nick. He's doing a great job with these kids out there. He coached Derek when he was at Nottingham. And he raves about him, and it's just like it's like a proud father, He's got one of his young athletes out there, and we all local, especially the local athletes around the Syracuse area. We pay attention to our own, so we're out there watching that Derek Gore, cheering for him, and actually that's the team I want to win the Super Bowl right now because they do have a local kid, on the squad.
Yeah, and looking at what Kansas City has been able to do. They've had Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been underwhelming.
Yeah, he's hurt.
And he's been hurt. And, so we look at a situation in Kansas City where Darrell Williams hasn't been a guy they could lean on. There's guys that they've had on staff in the backfield that they haven't been able to necessarily go to. And so we look back at the game here and, we got to see he did get out there, got a few carries out there for the team. And so, if for nothing else, you got a Central New York kid playing on the Chiefs with Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and the crew, getting coached by a coach you know very well, being a Philly alum, and Andy Reid, and he's moving on in the playoffs. Yeah. And he just got to play in what's the last game for Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, should be the last game.
Derek Gore, to me, is whether he's got 3 carries or 20 carries, I'm sure, looking around him going, thank you, God, every day.
Yeah.
I get to go up. I get to be on the field watching the end of a career of Ben Roethlisberger, a Super Bowl champion. I get to watch Pat Mahomes every day and be a part of his offense and learn from him. I get to learn from a phenomenal coach of recent times in Andy Reid. I get to play on a team that's been electrifying, and I get to be in a city that when they won 2 games, their fans like sold the place out.
Yeah,
Kansas City fans show up.
doing what he loves to do. You know, there's no better feeling in the world.
And guess what? How cool is this? A Central New York native, Central Upstate New York native, Derek Gore, this weekend gets to play up against an Upstate New York team in Buffalo.
Yeah.
So we get to see a team that our community loves and a guy that our community loves playing up against each other.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool. I mean, again, it's very prideful for the people of Syracuse, especially like those who understand, you know, the football aspect or the sports aspects of it, you know. And it's not just football. That's the same as with hockey. Some of the local hockey players that have been, you know, been on national or hockey championship teams. You know, some of the baseball players that have, you know, been, you know. So it's every sport. You know, it's not just football. It's every single sport. We're very proud of everybody who just goes out there from the Syracuse area and just does their thing because they love to do it. You know, and it shows.
So, really quick here, as we wrap things up inside of Cafe Kubal, 343 Fayette Street, Manlius, New York. Come out here and warm yourself up today. I have my chai that I always get, mint today. So as I take a little sip to join us for this final piece here, the ingredients to success is something that we do every Tuesday to round out the show, brought to you by Avicoli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, another proud partner like Cafe Kubal. So for the ingredients to success, the topic I'm going to use for this week is going to be the ingredients to success on how to win a championship in the NFL. I want to go to you for this, Rob. So the ingredients to success, speaking on the postseason, and we're going to talk about the games that have happened. I want to get your ingredients on how these teams move forward. Cincinnati defeated Vegas. Buffalo blew out the Patriots. Tampa defeated Philly. San Fran defeated Dallas in a last-second snafu. Kansas City blew out Pittsburgh, and the Rams blew out Arizona. So as we look forward here to this upcoming divisional round weekend, I ask you, Mr. Drummond, what are the ingredients to success for each of these games? We'll start with Cincinnati at Tennessee. Ingredients to success for these teams.
Ooh, that's going to be a tough game. Tennessee's been playing great football all year long. You know, so you think with them losing Derrick Henry that gravy train would have stopped, but they look as strong, you know, without him as they do with him.
Yeah.
You know, so it's going to be interesting, but it's hard to go up. I mean, I've been sitting here and watching Joe Burrow for the past 2 years, and that kid's amazing. He's going to be a good quarterback. And my first round pick for the Eagles last year, I mean, I knew Jamar Chase was going to be a special player, you know, and I just wanted them to stay in the position they were, to possibly try and move up and get him, you know, and it just ate me alive when they didn't get him because I knew he was going to be the stud that he was. But I mean, it's going to be an interesting game. But I just think Cincinnati just has too much momentum right now, and I think Cincinnati wins that game.
Are you surprised when you look at Tennessee and look at the fact that they lose Derrick Henry for half the season,
Yes.
best back in the nation, and they still win?
Their defense has been playing lights out. The defense has been playing unbelievable. You know, so that offense the offense just really just doesn't have to lose games for them. You know, and that's what they're doing. So good for them for getting that, you know, that bye, that home field advantage, but at least a bye.
Yeah, and Henry practiced for the first time recently here. Now, looking at the fact, could he play? It would be a big week of practice for Henry to get acclimated from head coach Mike Vrabel. So we'll see if he'll be back here to do it. But
He won't play the first game.
I think you got to give so much credit to Mike Vrabel.
Yes, he did a great job.
Because, again, we've said it before, like Syracuse, for example. Syracuse's football team, the last few years, individually talented,
Yes.
collectively don't win.
No.
That's a coaching problem.
Yes.
Look at what Mike Vrabel's done. Lose my best player,
Yeah.
lose 2,000 all-purpose yards,
Yeah.
and not only did I win my division and make the playoffs, I'm the number one team and the only team that gets a bye.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that Tennessee without Derrick Henry would even make the playoffs? He got hurt in October.
I wouldn't have.
It's January.
Yeah. Because he's He's a special player.
So you
He
got
really is.
Cincinnati winning.
Yes, I have Cincinnati
Okay.
winning that game.
So I, as you know, on Wednesdays in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, I give my prediction. So I will hold off on this. The ingredients to success for San Francisco at Green Bay. What does San Fran need? What does Green Bay need?
Ooh, that's going to be one heck of a matchup because one San
San
Fran
Fran's
get
playing
it,
with house money.
they get after the ball. They especially on defense. They really, but Aaron Rodgers is just so crafty and so wily, and it's at Lambeau Field, and that's a tough game. I mean, I think San Fran game, and I think just easy to bet against Aaron Rodgers in the playoff because he never does well in the playoffs. But it's hard to bet against Aaron Rodgers in general.
Yeah.
Because he's just the type of quarterback that can control a game, and if Joey Bosa can't play. It's going to be a huge loss for the Niners, because that front four still will get after it, but I just think Aaron Rodgers is too much, and they probably win by like six points to a touchdown.
And shout out to my guy A.J. Dillon doing his thing, and my guy Patrick Taylor II, who played at Memphis. By the way, Memphis has become an RBU. They got like 5 or 6 backs in the league right now. So big shout out to Mike Norvell for that, the current coach of FSU. So San Fran. But because San Fran's playing with house money, though, what's your take on? They have nothing to lose.
They have
now,
nothing to lose at all.
Granted, they played each other multiple times last year.
Yes.
And they played each other again. So these are two teams that know each other. These are quarterbacks that know each other. The coaches know each other. San Fran Green Bay of the last couple of years has become a familiar territory thing. But they're playing in Green Bay. Could be cold. And like you said, Aaron Rodgers, can you trust him in the playoffs last year?
Yeah.
Snafu could have ran in, decided to throw it. He made some weird decisions last year in the playoffs. But I don't know. I think San Fran's super dangerous.
They are.
But I want to believe that you can win. I guess what I've come to learn is if you're a team that advances forward and you get the bye, it's not always a good thing.
No, it's not. But I think when you have a quarterback of Aaron Rodgers caliber, bye is a great thing. It just gives him an extra week long because mentally he was preparing for both teams because he's played against them enough to realize I had to play this way against them, play this way against the other one. So now that he knows it's San Francisco, he's thinking of a way to play against them to stop that rush. The key to this game is going to come down to if Joey Bosa plays or not, and which Jimmy Garoppolo shows up. The Jimmy Garoppolo that can manage the game and go down and win for him. The Jimmy Garoppolo that turns the ball over so many times that turning the ball over almost cost him the Cowboys game. Yeah. He's a turnover machine, and that's been his Achilles heel.
Ingredients to Success brought to you by Avicoli's here with Rob Drummond to round out every Tuesday. So you got the two teams that had buys advancing. The only one team does now with 7 teams on each side, the 1 seed. So you have Tennessee and Green Bay advancing after having the wild card weekend off. So then we go to Sunday, the Los Angeles Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
No, I had Tennessee. I had Cincinnati.
Or Cincinnati, pardon me. So you had Cincinnati going over Tennessee, Green Bay going over San Fran. Now, Matt Stafford finally won a playoff game.
Yes, he did. Good for him. After 12 years, wow.
The Rams have literally given up their picks of 2 to 3 years to try and win now. Yes. Matt Stafford arguably on the best team he's ever been on, even though he had Megatron. And so on this phenomenal team, Sony Michel is better. They have Darrell Henderson. They have Cam Akers. They have Higbee. And, of course, they have the best receiver in football in Cooper Kupp. And Odell is doing some good things right now. Van Jefferson, not a bad receiver. A lot of great stuff going on for Matt Stafford. Awesome young coach in Sean McVay. After getting his first ever playoff win, so now he can come off the stat that he's never had one, he gets his first playoff victory. And now, because of that, he gets to play the GOAT. Yeah. Your thoughts on Rams at Bucks?
And I was saying to somebody about this last week because I picked the Eagles to win last week because I just thought everything was just set up for them to go out there and Jalen Hurts to have a great game, but it just didn't happen. But it's so hard to bet against Tom Brady. The guy just doesn't. He minimizes his mistakes if he makes any at all, And you look at Tampa Bay, and they're decimated with injuries right now. But Tom Brady's just so hard to bet against. And then you got those offensive and defense coordinator for the Buccaneers, with Leftwich on offense, and I think it's who's the defense coordinator?
Bowles.
Or Bowles on defense. He just has those guys playing at a hard level. And Shaq Barrett, and Devin White with the speed as a linebacker. It's just Tampa Bay is an impressive team to watch.
I wanted Devin White to go to Jacksonville.
Holy smokes! I mean, granted, you look at the Rams, and and they have Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. They got a who's who on defense, But it's just against a Tom Brady team that's not going to matter. He's not going to sit back there and hold the ball for 5 days. He's going to throw short passes and just destroy. And then we're not going to the receivers. He's going to go to big old Gronk.
Yeah.
So it's hard to bet against Tampa.
Tampa's defense isn't bad either.
Especially in Tampa, you got to go with the Buccaneers, and they even against my Eagles, they looked impressive. They really did.
So, what are the ingredients to success in this one? Like, what's the ingredients for the Rams and ingredients for the Bucs?
The ingredients for the Rams is get at Tom Brady's feet if you can. Tom Brady doesn't like being agitated. He likes to take his 5-step drop, just sit there, survey the field, and just drop it off. If you can get rushed, especially up the middle, if you can get good push for the two good guys inside, Aaron Donald, and get at Tom Brady's feet, you'll start to make him nervous. He'll start to get happy feet, and he'll start to make mistakes. In order to win this game, they're going to have to make Tom Brady make mistakes.
And for the Bucs, just protect Brady?
Protect Brady. Protect Brady. Don't let him get
always the cut and paste every game. Don't let the porcelain doll get touched.
Do not let them get that. I mean, it's okay if they get an outside rush because they'll just step up inside the pocket. But if they get a good push from the inside between the guard and tackle areas, it's going to be hard, for the Buccaneers to be effective the entire day.
Kyler Murray, the Rams were in his head all game last night.
They truly were.
Could have taken a safety, held on the ball way too long, and then just threw a duck up in the air.
Yeah.
Like, and then on the next drive, he's back in his own end zone again.
Yeah.
He looked he was throwing low.
He looked uncomfortable.
And it was the first half. I mean, he honestly looked like they were in his head.
He looked very uncomfortable.
So you're picking the Bucs?
I'm picking the Bucs.
Final game, Buffalo at Kansas City will round out the divisional round. What are Buffalo's ingredients to success, and what are Kansas City's? Brought to you by Apicolis.
But Buffalo has to have.
I got one. If Josh Allen can take off and get some gainers on the ground, that's helpful.
If he stays hot like he's been hot, it's gonna be a long day for Kansas City. That guy's special. Josh Allen's a special quarterback. But then again, you just look at Kansas City, and it's just. I mean, I knew when they started off slow this year, it's like, that's not the Kansas City of old. They'll catch their groove, And when you have, Kelsey and you have Tyreek Hill, you have Patrick Mahomes, you just have a lineup of explosive type players that could just, make things happen, And it's in Kansas City too, and that's like having a 12th man when you're playing in the city, in Kansas City, because it's just unbelievable. Buffalo is just a hot team right now, and again, I got to pick Kansas City because of my man Derek Gore. It's just with the Syracuse connection. It's just I think it's going to be one heck of a game. I think it's going to come down to a field goal or a late score to win, but I think Kansas City's going to win the game. But I mean, that quarterback for Buffalo, Allen, is just he's out of this world. He's special.
The thing that's really funny is right after you picked Kansas City, a Bills Mafia fan jumped up in a parking lot somewhere and broke a table. But if you would have picked Buffalo, he would have jumped up in the parking lot and broke the same table.
Oh, yeah.
Because, they don't really care what makes them break the table.
Yeah,
it's either or. They were voted a couple years ago the drunkest fans.
Oh, my God. They're
yeah.
Eagles fans might be crass, but Bills fans are drunks. Oh my gosh, they get loaded before they go to the game. I mean,
get excited.
You see all the beer cans outside the stadium, just on the stoops where people go in. I'm like, wow, this is a crazy.
A Bills fan will drink more beer in an hour than I've drank in my life.
Yeah, I believe it.
In my life,
I believe
36 years. By the way, I didn't get to say this to you yet. So every time I turn a year older, I pick like a connection to that number. Mm-hmm. So I've called this year of my birthday from now until October 21st of 2022. I'm calling this my Rob Drummond year because I'm 36.
36, huh? Yeah. That's funny.
So I'm living my Drummond year right now. What should I know in my Drummond year?
Wisdom? I don't know. I don't know what I know in my Drummond year.
So with that being said, Rob Drummond, Syracuse, CFL, NFL alum, JD alum from this community, myself from this community. We are inside of a local community business in Cafe Kubal. We implore you to come out here. We're going to take one final step aside for a fast break, and Rob and I will wrap things up right after this. We're going to do a quick rapid fire, if you'll have me on that, Rob. We're going to go away from sports, and we're going to pick each other's brain about, maybe we'll do music, because we both like music. We'll hit music here for a second. Right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York.
Cafe Kubal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafekubal.com. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond. You can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Here at Progressive Dental, we understand the importance of regular dental visits and preventive care. Cleanings and checkups are essential to good oral health. We have multiple locations in the Southern Tier, so come visit us in Binghamton, Enwell, Kirkwood, Montrose, and Norwich. For self-pay non-insured patients, we offer the Smile Plan, which covers all of your cleanings, x-rays, and exams for an affordable yearly price. Call 607-754-2273 or 607-754-CARE to make an appointment today. For more information, visit our website at progressivedentalny.com.
The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make your way out to the Millhouse Market today and make sure you download the app on the Google Play and Apple App Store to have everything at your fingertips, from their homemade breads and desserts to their quinoa bowls, rice bowls, brick oven pizzas, and sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. Ingrained in our community and ingrained in our taste buds, the Millhouse Market open Tuesday through Sunday for you for their indoor dining restaurant and with a bistro menu that changes every weekend to something new, so you can come back and try new favorites that you'll have all throughout the year. Of course, their general store with local products from local companies, and of course by going to their drive-through, drive-up window, grabbing your food, and going about your way there at the Millhouse Market on 3790 New York 13. Worth the drive every single time. With that being said, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora back inside a Cafe Kubal on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York with Rob Drummond and myself, Dan Tortora. We are in that rapid fire place. Rob has answered plenty of my questions today, and we've gone back and forth and talked about the local community, local student athletes, Syracuse football, being a good human in general, and we've always gone, as we tend to do, to the deeper level of life and positivity and living without stress and living without drama. And as you know, at the end of every show, I always say, God bless, no stress, do your best. 3 things I think sum up life.
That's true.
So, with that being said, we're going to play a quick game of rapid fire inside of Cafe Kubal as you enjoy your coffees, your teas, and your chais like me. Come and warm yourself up on this cold, wintry day at Cafe Kubal at any one of their awesome locations, and at PB&J's Lunchbox in Liverpool, where Cafe Kubal is now being served. So, rapid fire time. We're going to make it a music edition. Since you and I both love music and we like a lot of the same music, I always tell people, if you look at my music taste, it looks like I grew up in South Central Philly. That's what I say every time. When I say deep cuts, I'm like Anita Baker, Nat King Cole, Natalie Cole, Aaron Neville. I'm like, come on, come with me down to the good music area. So let's do music. We'll do 3 apiece. Any music question you want, fire away.
I already know your favorite group is. Oh, did you know that Voice of Men is playing at Dalaga?
Oh, they're back at Del Lago? I did not know that. Oh,
Yeah.
you want to come see your friends?
I know. I saw that. I was like, oh my God. Wait, I mean, where did I see that? I think
Would
me
they
and-
remember you?
Me and Trish were probably, I don't know. It's been so long. Good Lord. It's been over 30 years.
Since you didn't introduce me to them yet, you want to bring me to Del Lago?
I don't even
When
know.
is it?
If it's outside as cold as it is like right now, no.
Rob, so that's how your love for me, it goes as far as the cold?
It's in February
Let's
sometimes,
see
but
here.
I remember seeing it.
Let's see here. I'm going to look it up right now.
I'm not positive of the date.
Boys to Men, Del Lago.
I think it was like the 18th. No?
They are, where is it? February 19th.
Okay. Oh, I'm pretty good.
Ooh, I'll be home too. Hey. All right. You going to bring me to finally meet Boys to Men?
There you go.
All right, so what's your question?
Okay. Of the Motown era,
Mm-hmm.
what would probably be your favorite artist and why?
Oh, gosh. I love Motown. Quincy Jones. I mean, it's got to be Boys to Men. I mean,
They're not really. Well,
I mean, I put them there. All right, here, I'm going to get a list in front of myself so that I don't leave somebody out. I'm going to put this here. There we go. So of the Motown era, because I think of them when I think, okay, so you're talking to me like Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They got Erykah Badu as part of this.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I would say of the Motown era, oh man, this is tough. My favorite, Rick James is on this.
Rick James. Enjoy yourself.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Evan and I always do the couch thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I didn't say that about his couch. Oh no, you know what I do sometimes too when I'm really tired, like when my legs, if I have like a cramp in my legs or something like that, I crawl on the ground. I go, what am I gonna do about my legs, Charlie Murphy? And I got to meet Charlie Murphy. Oh man. Okay, if I had to choose, I would say Stevie Wonder or Michael Jackson. I mean, I guess if you consider Michael Jackson a part of that too. So, yeah, I would probably say, I think Stevie makes more sense going farther back, but I would say Michael. But if we're saying true Motown based on the list I'm looking at, I'm going to say Stevie Wonder. That's not easy. That list is not easy.
No, it's not. It's not at all. Mine would be Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
Marvin
He was
Gaye's
at the top of it.
my all-time favorite artist. But I always ask because the Motown, I think music nowadays has lost the art of what they had in Motown, and it was the art of music.
Is there
now
Motown anymore?
No, it's just noise.
There's no Motown anymore?
This music now is just synthesizers, and what's that where they make their voice sound high pitched and all that?
Yeah, it's
I
was going to call it a tracheotomy thing, but it's not. It's
auto-tune.
Yeah.
Auto-tune.
And by the way, when Teddy Riley did it with Blackstreet, they said he was like a fake singer. And then when T-Pain did it, everybody thought it was great. I was like, why'd y'all hate Teddy Riley?
That's this generation. I can't figure him out.
So, okay. So my first question for you, good question. My first question for you, if you could only see one concert of someone who's passed away, if they could come back on Earth and do one concert, who would you see and why?
Marvin Gaye, because his music is just mesmerizing. It's just
okay.
His music was about. It was before we even knew about it. Was about unity, about uniting people. It's about what's going on with the world. You know, it's like we need to save the children. It's like his music was just for everybody. It wasn't music that was just based off, you know, whether white or black, whether Asian or whether Mexican, or his music was just universal and just reached out to the souls of everyone. And it was about healing the world. And apparently, it's 2022 now, and as a nation of people, you know, the civilized people live in this world, we haven't listened.
No. We have not listened to Marvin Gaye still.
Because we're still destroying one another, slowly but surely.
Yeah, and I agree. There's certain music that just transcends. You know, There's a lot of songs by Michael Jackson that transcend for me. Like you said, Marvin Gaye. There's people that have given statements that were about everybody. We're about healing everybody, protecting everybody, helping everybody, not seeing color, not seeing sex, not seeing background, not seeing money. And we've lost that. And now today's music is all about money and power and who's better than who, and it's just not the same. I mean, you think about how they used to all get together and sing songs like Heal the World, where it was like ego out of, I mean, like, think about it. You had like the best singers of all time in a recording studio together.
Yes, yeah, I know.
Nobody was going, well, I'm this and I'm that. Like, everybody was just singing together.
No ego, huh? We won't get that in Syracuse. A lot of ego here.
What's your second question for me?
All right, this one you're going to have to think about a little bit. Okay, if you had a chance, taking out, deciding with your head and how you could psychologically and mentally, knowing from professional sports, football, I'll use, and don't answer this with your heart because I know what your favorite teams are already.
Okay.
If you had a chance, the head coach for 1 year, a professional football organization, and that you feel with your knowledge of everything, that you could help, which would it be? And again, decide this with your thought process and not your heart. Your heart, you're going to go with the Cowboys or the Jaguars.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to go with the Cowboys or Jaguars. Who do you think you could honestly help?
If I was a head coach for 1 year with a current roster?
Correct.
Okay. If I was a head coach current year, or if I was head coach for a year with a current roster, which team would I coach in the NFL? I would say there's one that's coming to mind, but I want to think about it. So I wouldn't coach Kansas City because I want to bring somebody up. I want to bring somebody up. So I wouldn't coach Kansas City. I wouldn't coach Tampa. No offense to them. I wouldn't coach Pittsburgh because they got rid of some people that I like, so I wouldn't want to go there. I would probably wouldn't coach Green Bay because I don't want to deal with that trench war with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, the diva?
Yeah, I would probably tell you, honestly, if there's the first team that came to my mind of the current roster that I would want to coach to raise to the next level, I would coach Buffalo. Because I would love to coach Josh Allen. I would love to coach Stephon Diggs. I would love to coach Cole Beasley. I would love to coach Dawson Knox. I would love to be in the draft and get a running back and really figure out like what was going on with Zach Moss and Devin Singletary. You know, we're people's people. Mm-hmm. I consider us good judges of character. I also know that people are honest with us and that we can see when they're not. Mm-hmm. So I would love to sit down with Devin and Zach and really understand them and what's going on, and, you know, what's the disconnect, why are they struggling. I would love to coach Levi Wallace. He was the first player that I ever interviewed from Alabama. I would love to coach Matt Milano because I obviously covered him in BC, and I would love to have Ed Oliver because I covered Houston. So for me, selfishly, I would have a lot of talent, guys that I have had a connection with or covered, and I just think it would be really, really good because I think Buffalo's on the cusp of getting there, and I think they need somebody to elevate them and to really be honest with them, be true to them, and I don't know, I honestly believe in my ability to get the best out of the people around me. So I'd want to do that.
I respect that. I mean, mine would have been the Miami Dolphins or the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
One because I like Dalvin Cook, and the two for Minnesota. He's just, I mean, I like Derrick Henry, but Dalvin Cook he runs hard. He's a heck of a runner.
I just interviewed his brother, James Cook.
He's good.
Georgia.
He's
good
real
too.
good. In Miami, because you know, I'm not sold on Tua right now, but just Miami has just so many. Through draft picks and through through free agency, everything, they're going to be a good team in a few years. They've
8-1 in their last 9 games.
I know, that's good. That was a bad move to fire that coach. Oh, what a
it was.
Move.
So
even for team morale. Oh.
I mean, it's just killer. I mean, why would you?
Ego.
Again, that's why do you fire a coach who's your best position coach? So my second question for you I'll go to football for you. So, outside of Syracuse, of the college, I'm going to give you a similar question, but in the college football world, what team
would you become the head coach of in college football right now that you believe is at the cusp of getting to the college football playoff? I got a couple.
What school? Did Carson Wentz go to North Dakota State?
Yes.
North Dakota State.
Yeah.
Because they keep winning championship after championship in Division II, I think it is, and it's just
Division 1AA.
1AA, excuse me. But they're a good coach away from a leap to to Division I or the Power Five. They're that good. They're dominating the teams they're playing. I just think it would be fun to coach a bunch of guys who you got to remember these guys are 1AA, so they're not the Alabamas, or I was going to say Nebraska, but Nebraska's not a powerhouse anymore.
No.
But the Alabamas or the Ohio State,
they did just get a big time quarterback.
Michigans, or so it would be. It's always fun to coach a group of guys who no one really gives a chance to, and see them go out there and prove not just to themselves but to the world that they're a lot better than people thought they were. That's always fun to watch. It truly is.
So you would go to them if you had to pick a Division I FBS school. Who would you pick?
Ooh.
There's one I would pick right now, but I like their coach.
Yeah.
And there's top recruiter right now. I would pick Texas A&M.
Yeah.
But who would you pick?
Ooh. Wow.
Outside of Syracuse, a team that you think is on the cusp of going to the college football playoff.
Because I love rooting for underdogs, but Cincinnati. Being on an undefeated team, I know what it takes to go undefeated, and it takes some luck, but I don't believe in luck. But it also takes a doggone good team, and here you have a bunch of guys who weren't supposed to be there. No one gave them, any credit. And granted, they got beat, but it's like they proved to the world that they belong there.
Yeah.
And I always go to battle with a bunch of guys that feel that they belong there, and those kids feel they belong.
I beat the drum for them last year,
Yeah.
beat the drum this year, went to Nippert Stadium, saw the American Athletic Championship, wanted to be there for that moment. Then I interviewed Nick Saban and asked him after the game what he thought, and that was the quote that got carried, I guess, all over the place, but I saw it on Sports Illustrated the next day that the quote that he said to me when he said, "There's no doubt in my mind that this team belongs in the college football playoff," speaking of Cincinnati. So shout out to Nick Saban for telling the truth, because he got it right, in my opinion. What's your last one for me?
Okay. Who do you think, even with all the COVID rules and things of this nature, blah, 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 everything going on, possibly will win the NBA championship this year?
Well, I wanted them to do it last year. I really like to see Phoenix do it. I would really like to see Phoenix do it. My Raptors were the only team in the country. I love my Raptors. I don't care what you say. But they were the only team in the world in the NBA last year that didn't get to play at home, and I think it just washed their season away. They played in Tampa.
Okay, people love the Detroit Lions too, so yeah.
Well, my team won a championship, so yeah. I mean, and right now if the playoffs started, Toronto would be in. I think they're 8th, but I don't know if I'm completely sold on a team in the East. Not a fan of Brooklyn, and not that I'm not a fan of Brooklyn, the city. I'm just not or the borough, but I'm not a fan of the makeup there. It's too much diva. I'm not a fan of LeBron buying championships and it ain't working. So I guess I would say like Phoenix or Utah, because I really wanted to see Phoenix or Utah last year. So I would say Phoenix or Utah.
Ooh, I mean,
just because they're like unexpected,
yes.
And I feel like people would say, "Oh, that's not going to sell. That's not going to be good for TV."
I like Phoenix. I mean, the Devin Booker is a great young player.
Yeah.
He's amazing to watch.
And my guy Elijah Hughes from SU is out over at Utah.
He's an energizer bunny. But I mean, I would sit here and say my team Philly, but with the whole Ben Simmons situation, it's just very, very frustrating. And I'm not a Nets fan at all. But you know what? I like Giannis. He's
Yeah, I like him too.
I mean, I like Giannis. I like Middleton. You know, I mean, I like
Chris Middleton's awesome.
Drew Holiday. I mean, I just like just watching that team last year and how they came together and how they didn't go out and get superstars. They did everything through draft picks and things of that nature. You know, they just went against the grain and you know, on a correct way to do it. And they did it their way and they won.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll have a chance that they can get this year. So
I'm happy for them.
So am I.
I'm just, you know,
Very
being
small,
a Raptor fan, I can't.
Very small market city. You know, they just went out there and beat the big dogs. You know, they're not LA.
That's why I want to see Mormon country out in Utah do it. I want to see them Utah make it happen. So.
Well, they have the Joker. No, he plays with Denver.
Yeah, well, Denver's another team.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, Phoenix is in first place at the time we're talking right now. I'd like to see it. So yeah, I mean, I want to see a team that Phoenix and Utah have not gotten anything in so long. So
yeah,
I mean, Utah since Karl Malone and John Stockton, Phoenix since Steve Nash.
I'm not a big Chris Paul fan.
I mean, he doesn't bother me.
I like the guy, but I mean, I'm not a real big fan of his.
He doesn't bother me. Okay, so that was your question for me. My question for you, if you had to choose to live in one of these cities for the rest of your life, and I know you don't like the cold, so you got to pick between 3 cold cities. I'm gonna pick. Well, I know what you're gonna. Oh no, you know what? I'm gonna do this because maybe this will make it difficult. So you have to live in one of these cities for the rest of your life. Toronto.
Lived there.
Vancouver.
I lived there.
Or Montreal.
I've been there. That's easy. The most beautiful city I've ever been to in the world is Vancouver, British Columbia.
Okay.
I mean, it's just. I tell everybody it should be on your bucket list. The most beautiful city I've ever been to before, and I've been all over this world. Yeah. You know, for traveling. It's a simple fact. I work for the airport. I fly free now too. You know,
Yeah.
so but Vancouver is it's breathtaking. It really is. I mean, if you've never been there before, it's definitely a bucket list place. You know, it rains more than it snows there, but it's just a beautiful city. That was actually going to be one of my retirement city. Until I went out to Denver, Colorado, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Denver is just as beautiful." But
I want to go visit there.
Vancouver is just it's I can't. You got to go.
I know, and it's. I mean, not just you, but when we did the CNY Pop Festival a few years ago, and I got to do the event with sports and entertainment, Michelle Harrison. Yeah. You guys had a mutual friend from British Columbia, and I believe Ryan Reynolds is from out there. So the actor. I think he's from the Deadpool. So I think he's from that area. I hear good things about it. A lot of shooting, a lot of filming in Vancouver. So a lot of movie stuff and whatnot. So with that being said, for myself, Dan Tortora, and for Rob Drummond, here at Cafe Kubal, we're at Cafe Kubal every single month. We bounce around to different locations, 401 South Salina Street, 3501 James Street in Syracuse, inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse, and out here at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, as well as on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Quarters in North Syracuse at the drive-through location. So with that being said, local community, we talked about it. Local student athletes, we talk about them. And of course, local business here at Cafe Kubal and all of our proud partners. Thank you so much. And remember that Wake Up Call is a proud partner of the Lemoyne Dolphins and the Marywood Pacers. Find out all of our specials by going to wakeupcalldt.com and clicking on the Lemoyne and Marywood tabs, as well as subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Rob, as always, thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Appreciate it.